Chapter 491. Lu Choo-Choo picked up the seahorse's storage ring and tossed it to Enlin. This is for you. You saved me during this battle, so you should keep this. Enlin accepted the storage ring and immediately refined it to see if there was anything good inside. Tina picked up the seahorse's silver spear. This was a high-rank spirit tool, so it was quite an excellent weapon. She was quite tempted, but she still obediently placed it beside Enlin. Enlin looked into the storage ring and was a little disappointed to find that there were no golden realm essence crystals. However, there were 6 white realm essence crystals, which were of the lowest grade. He pulled out the realm essence crystals and tried to activate his cultivation method to absorb the energy within them. But to his surprise, there was no reaction. So I can only absorb the energy of golden realm essence crystals. Enlin shook his head before continuing to peer into the storage ring. There were 36 vital stones, 3 spirit tools, 5 spirit pills, and a bunch of random materials in the storage ring. Perhaps it was because he was too rich, but anyone's storage ring made him feel like that person was a pauper, and there was not the slightest ripple in his heart. What's wrong? There's nothing good in there. Lu Choo-Choo couldn't help but ask upon seeing the lack of joy on Enlin's face. No, there aren't even immortal pills or immortal tools. I'm too poor. Enlin heaved a forlorn sigh. Lu Choo-Choo. Perhaps it was because they had different views on wealth, but Lu Choo-Choo really didn't want to say anything. Enlin placed all of these items into his storage ring before pulling out a long sword that exuded a frosty aura. The frosty aura emanating from the sword made the entire space feel as if it had been plunged into winter. Tina, you did well. You can have this elementary rank immortal tool, the Heart Lotus Ice Sword. This immortal tool can change its size at will, so it's quite suitable for you. Also, if you need any other weapons, feel free to tell me. Enlin handed the long sword to Tina. Tina stared at the long sword in her hand with a slightly dazed expression. Giant Enlin, is this really for me? She could sense that this weapon was of a higher grade than a holy tool. Of course, it's just an inanimate object in my storage ring, so I might as well give it to you to enhance your combat prowess. The previous battle was too urgent, so I didn't have time to give it to you. Take it now. Enlin smiled. Tina refined the immortal artifact, and as expected, it began to shrink according to Tina's will. The sword hilt also had an azure lotus flower in full bloom, looking exceptionally beautiful. Tina loved it so much that she couldn't bear to part with it. She rushed over to Enlin and gave him a big hug. Splat! Although Enlin didn't feel anything, he still smiled dotingly. In fact, when Tina had accepted his suggestion and risked her life to battle the seahorse turtle, he had already treated her as one of his own. Lu Choo-Choo's lips twitched at the sight of Enlin casually tossing out an immortal tool. Fellow Taoist Enlin, what do you plan to do next? She pondered for a moment before asking. Find the huge starry mountain and the realm essence crystals, Enlin replied without any hesitation. A faint smile appeared on Lu Choo-Choo's face. How about I come with you guys? Enlin nodded in agreement. As expected, you think I'm a very safe man? Lu Choo-Choo's features convulsed slightly, but she forced herself to continue. I've discovered my shortcomings through this battle. Even though I'm very adept at sniping enemies, my life is in danger if I allow them to get close to me. No living being in the ancient Tai Chu realm is a weakling, so I've chosen to team up with you. I'll be responsible for sniping, and you'll be responsible for melee combat and protection. This combination will definitely yield very good results. Enlin nodded. Got it. You'll be the ADC and I'll be the tank. Lu Choo-Choo. Then we'll split the storage rings we obtain among you, me and the little one. We'll also split the wild realm essence crystals equally among us. What do you think? Enlin's eyes lit up upon hearing this. What belonged to Tina was also his. This was a very good idea. Killing others and stealing their treasures is one of the most delightful activities of cultivation. I accept your invitation to team up with us, so we'll be a team from now on." And Lin smiled. Lu Chu heaved a sigh of relief upon hearing this, and she extended her hand with a smile. And Lin understood what she meant and gave her a high five. Tina didn't understand what they were talking about, and she was happily playing with the Heart Lotus Ice sword in her hand. And Lin thought for a moment before tossing a Tai Chu language encyclopedia to Tina. This was a book that the white scale wolf god had compiled while learning the Tai Chu language from Dubai, and it was specifically designed for the Man tribe to learn the Tai Chu language. Tina held up a book that was several dozen times larger than her, with a dumbstruck expression on her face. Giant and Lin, what do you mean by this? Read it when you're bored. In the future, all the people you encounter will be speaking the Tai Chu language. If you don't want to become a retard, then study this book, and Lin explained in a benevolent voice. Tina. In the face of Giant and Lin's tyranny, Tina could only carefully flip open the book. There were both familiar and unfamiliar words on the book, as well as notes on pronunciation and explanations of the meaning. Tina began to chant along with the pronunciation of the Tai Chu language. The most important thing right now was to master the spoken Tai Chu language. And Lin was very pleased to see Tina working so hard. He had mastered the Tai Chu language just by imitating a dog's bark. Now he was even more elated to see that others could only master the Tai Chu language after studying it diligently, due to the lingering effects of the origin energy of the netherworld. The three of them were resting on the spot. Lu Chu was a little petite, and she sat sideways on a rock with her legs crossed. Her hands glowed with a white light as she fiddled with the pink longbow in her hands. And Lin couldn't sense any spirit or immortal tool energy, fluctuations from the longbow. Instead, he could sense a special type of energy, fluctuations that he had never sensed before. This piqued his curiosity, and he asked about the longbow's origins. A vibrant smile appeared on Lu Chu's face upon hearing this, and she didn't try to hide anything as she provided an explanation. The longbow was materialized from a small portion of her essential bloodline, so it was different from normal weapons as it was a type of bloodline weapon. And Lin was extremely impressed upon hearing this. This was because bloodline weapons were very special weapons, and he had only read about them in books. In order to refine this type of weapon, one had to have an extremely powerful bloodline, and it would take a very long time to materialize. Its advantage was that it could fuse the power of the bloodline into the weapon to maximize its power. Furthermore, the weapon could be used at will, thereby maximizing the user's flexibility. However, its weakness was also very obvious. This weapon was connected to the user's bloodline. Once the weapon was damaged, it would inevitably backfire on the user's bloodline, even causing irreversible damage. This was also the reason why bloodline weapons were relatively rare. After all, no one wanted to expose their bloodline to the outside world and let others attack them. Lu Chu had invested all of her skill points into damage output. Not only was her body extremely fragile, but even her weapon was also extremely fragile. No wonder she wanted to form an alliance with him 4 hours later, and Lin had completely recovered, and Lu Chu had also adjusted herself to her peak condition. "Let's go!" And Lin yelled, "Let's go!" Tina yelled. Lu Chu stared at Tina with shock on her face. "Little fairy, you can speak now." Tina looked at Lu Chu with confusion in her eyes. "You've been studying for 4 hours. If you can't even speak, then what kind of fairy are you?" Lu Chu and Lin, he seemed to have underestimated the learning abilities of fairies. Was language really that easy to learn? He suddenly felt a little depressed. Chapter 492. And Lin, Tina, and Lu Chu began their journey. Lu Chu had discovered an obvious coordinate on the map, the Guwu Great Rift Valley. It was also because of this rift valley that they were located in the southwestern region of the ancient Tai Chu realm. They were now flying toward the north. There was a pan-long mountain there, and there was a very good chance that realm essence crystals would appear there. Lu Chu stood on Lin's black brick, and her eyes glowed with a faint light, as if they could pierce through space and see the scenery in the extremely far distance. Panlong Mountain is the name of a region in the ancient Tai-Chu realm. There are ancient dragon tribe living beings there, and their bodies have a certain chance of forming realm essence crystals. There are also some special places in that region that have a very high chance of forming realm essence crystals. Due to the abundance of realm essence crystals in that region, it's one of the places where battles are the most intense. It's a very dangerous place. Fortune is found in danger, and Lin replied. Nothing ventured, nothing gained, Tina chimed in. She could even speak idioms now. Don't worry, I'm at my peak right now, and I'm not afraid of anyone, and Lin said with a confident expression. Don't be fooled by my small stature, but I'm quite powerful. Tina had even learned how to speak in the Tai-Chu language. Lu Chu-Chu. Lu Chu-Chu pursed her lips as she listened to Enlin and Tina's exchange of words. She had heard many rumors about Enlin, and she couldn't help but feel that he was a little different from what she had imagined. After flying for a short while, a black continent with many tall mountains appeared before the three of them. There were some rare plants growing on the ground, but all of them were red in color, and they appeared particularly eerie on the black continent. You two protect me. I'm going to look around to see if there are any enemies. Lu Chu-Chu flew to the summit of a mountain, and her pink dress fluttered in the wind, as if she were a vibrant peony at the summit of the mountain. A faint light flashed through her eyes, and her yellow pupils became extremely sharp as she surveyed her surroundings. And Lin stood beside her and surveyed their surroundings cautiously. Lu Chu-Chu's Eye of the Kuin Peng had a range of 15 kilometers. This was an extremely terrifying distance, as most soul formation stage cultivators could only sense within a radius of a few kilometers. Even cultivators at the soul formation pinnacle stage could only sense within a radius of 5 kilometers. It could be said that if there was only one enemy, Lu Chu-Chu would definitely be able to snipe them down. 15 minutes later, Lu Chu-Chu's body faltered slightly, but her sharp eyes didn't waver as she stared intently in a certain direction. And Lin couldn't help but ask, "How is it? Did you discover anything?" Lu Chu-Chu didn't say anything. Instead, she pulled out her longbow and slowly drew the bowstring. At this moment, she seemed to be a god that ruled over the life and death of others, lofty, ethereal, and filled with killing intent. Essence chi surged and gathered into a pink arrow. A terrifying fluctuation spread out in all directions. Divine art, spatial demon-slaying arrow. Whoosh! The arrow left the bowstring and set off a fierce hurricane. The arrow penetrated into the distance in an instant, leaving only a pink trail in the air. Finally, in the distance, where Lin couldn't see clearly, a resplendent light burst out like a dazzling pearl. And Lin's heart surged with excitement upon seeing this. This was the first time he had witnessed such a long-range snipe. It was simply too cool. Let's go pick up some treasures. Lu Chu-Chu leaped onto Lin's brick and pointed in a certain direction with a dainty smile. And Lin nodded before flying toward the direction of the explosion atop his brick. Over 10 kilometers away, a massive crater had appeared at the site of the explosion, and a massive headless body had been reduced to charcoal. And Lin looked at the body and could vaguely make out that it had 4 extremely thick and powerful legs. Its entire body was covered in sharp spikes, so it was most likely an extremely powerful beast. It's a soul beast from the sinister spirit beast cesspool. Lu Chu-Chu made her way toward the body before picking up a shimmering golden bracelet. That was most likely the spatial artifact that contained the treasure. Done! I love killing people and stealing their treasures. It's much more exciting than searching for realm essence crystals. Lu Chu-Chu replied, and Lin nodded in agreement. He had made his fortune by killing people and stealing their treasures. Oh, and selling stuffed buns. He turned toward the soul beast with a hint of sympathy in his eyes. Sigh. A soul beast of the soul formation stage died, just like that. What a tragedy. That's just how this world is. Strength is everything. There are enemies everywhere here. So if you don't want to be killed, you have to strike first. Lu Chuchu's adorable features adopted a mature expression, and Lin nodded. He wasn't an inflexible person. Prior to coming here, Emperor Ziwei had told him that aside from the Buddhist kingdom, the Garden of Eden, the Hall of Creation, the Dragon Court of the Eastern Seas, the North Song Mountain Realm, and the Spirit Lake Realm, all other living beings were their enemies. If you showed mercy to your enemies, then you would be giving them an opportunity to kill you. Lu Chuchu stowed the spatial artifact away before continuing to hunt within Lin. There really were quite a few powerful beings on Panlong Mountain. After 6 hours, Lu Chuchu killed a two-headed bird from the southern Heavenly Wing Nation and a soul formation stage powerful being from the Darkwing tribe. All of these powers were on their own. So Enlin didn't do anything other than cheer them on from the sidelines and receive 2 storage rings worth of treasures. He rummaged through the storage rings to find a total of 105 vital stones, 7 spirit tools, about a dozen spirit pills, 20 white realm essence crystals, and 3 green realm essence crystals. Unfortunately, there were no golden realm essence crystals. Tina's share was naturally kept by Enlin on her behalf. After all, she was so young and needed an adult to look after these things for her. Thus, the 3 of them didn't even see a single realm essence crystal before they obtained the storage rings of 3 enemy forces. This was quite a strange way to develop, but the 3 of them were quite happy. Why would they go through so much trouble to find realm essence crystals? Without realm essence crystals, their enemies would help them find them, so all they had to do was steal from their enemies. It was a quick and convenient process, and there was also the reward of opening a treasure trove. Their ADC stood on the summit of a tall mountain again, and his sharp eyes scanned the surrounding battlefield before settling on a certain direction. And Lin's eyes lit up upon seeing this. Finally, there was prey. However, this time, Lu Chuchu didn't draw her bow. Instead, her brows furrowed. "What is it?" And Lin asked. "There's a White Lake realm over there, and I discovered a group of blood tribe cultivators, but there are 5 of them." Lu Chuchu replied, "Can't you shoot them at the same time?" And Lin asked. Lu Chuchu rolled her eyes. "If you can shoot them at the same time, why would I need you?" Under normal circumstances, the divine technique, Double Dragon Arrow, has a certain probability of killing 2 soul formation, final stage, powerful beings at the same time. However, the blood tribe cultivators have extremely powerful life force, so I have to use the divine soul arrow if I want to kill them. It's extremely taxing, and killing one is already my limit, Lu Chuchu explained. And Lin's brows furrowed slightly. There were 5 enemies. Lu Chuchu had been rendered useless after just 1 attack. Didn't that mean that he and Tina would have to deal with 4 soul formation stage blood tribe cultivators? These weren't just normal soul formation stage blood tribe cultivators either. They were the cream of the crop even among soul formation stage cultivators. However, his eyes suddenly lit up again. "Can you shoot all 5 arrows at the same time and strike all 5 blood tribe cultivators at the same time?" "I can, but it's only enough to tickle them. What's the point?" Lu Chuchu rolled her eyes at Enlin again, and Lin chuckled. "Have you heard of the Poison Lord?" Chapter 493. Poison Lord. Lu Chuchu faltered slightly as she stared at Enlin. "You." A smug smile appeared on Enlin's face. "That's right. I, Poison Lord, am invincible." He continued, "Dip your arrows in my blood and shoot them at the same time. As long as those 5 arrows can wound the blood tribe cultivators, they'll be poisoned to death." Lu Chuchu was a little skeptical. "It's that powerful." "I guarantee it." And Lin thumped his chest confidently. Meanwhile, at the border of the White Lake realm, 4 blood tribe cultivators in red robes were setting up a spell formation on the ground. They were led by a man with golden hair and crimson eyes, and he stood at the forefront of the group of four as he stared intently at the white lake. "Louise, is the spirit-crippling spell formation ready?" the man asked. A seductive woman chuckled softly. "Everything is ready. We're just waiting for Cecil to finish setting up his blood-binding spell formation." The handsome young man raised his head and nodded with a calm expression. "Simpson, I've also finished setting up my blood-binding spell formation." A smile appeared on Simpson's face as he looked at the four people around him. "Very good. Now, let's lure out the thing at the bottom of the lake. That thing is a little strange, so make sure you don't let it get close to you." The other four nodded solemnly before activating the spell formation within their bodies. Right at this moment, 5 streaks of pink light tore through the air like bolts of lightning. "Look out!" Simpson roared. Boom, boom, boom. The arrows exploded, leaving a series of lethal trajectories in their wake. Louise's body was deflected, and the tip of the arrow slashed past her shoulder. The other 2 brawny men were a little slow to react, and the arrows pierced through their chests. Simpson activated his protective light barrier in time to keep the flying arrows at bay. Cecil's body flickered like a ghost, dodging the incoming arrows. "Ow, that hurt. Which rude bad guy came to disturb us?" Louise spoke with a seductive smile. She was not nervous in the slightest. "Don't let your guard down. These 5 arrows were shot by the same person. Just the fact that he was able to attack without our detection means that he's not to be underestimated." Simpson's brows furrowed. "Humph. What's there to be afraid of with this level of attack?" "This is a blatant provocation," a brawny man whose chest had been pierced said nonchalantly. The flesh on his chest wriggled, preparing to mend his pierced chest. Simpson looked in the direction where the arrow had come from and began to rise into the air. "No matter what that person's intentions are, our actions have been discovered by the other organizations. Before we draw that thing out, we have to eliminate this threat. Let's go." The other 4 blood tribe members nodded and began to rush in the direction where the arrow had come from. At the same time, they released their divine sense to investigate their surroundings. On the summit of a mountain over 10 kilometers away, and Lynn glanced at Lu Choo Choo. "Didn't you say you could hit all 5 of them at once? Isn't this a waste of my blood?" Lu Choo Choo pursed her lips. "That's just a theory. In theory, he could hit 5 of them at the same time. Actually, to be able to hit 3 was already pretty good, right? You, on the other hand, where's the poison lord? Where's the poison tyrant in your blood that can kill vampires upon contact? What's with the 5 lively blood breeds? They're pouncing toward us. Huh? They're not dead?" And Lynn faltered slightly upon hearing this. His eyesight was limited, and he couldn't see what was happening over 10 kilometers away. "Lu Choo Choo. Let's find a place to hide first. Let's cast a concealment spell technique first. I want to see if my blood isn't poisonous, or if these blood tribe cultivators are too arrogant." And Lynn was unconvinced. Thus, 5 blood tribe cultivators appeared in their field of vision a few seconds later. They flew through the air atop a wave of blood, and their auras surged with astonishing might. So they really weren't dead. An indescribable sense of disappointment welled up in Lynn's heart, as if he had lost an extremely bad asterisk skill. However, right at this moment, 2 of the brawny blood tribe cultivators suddenly faltered. "Jeff, Bude, what's wrong with you?" Simpson asked immediately after noticing that something was wrong. Jeff's body trembled with a dazed expression. "Leader, He didn't even get a chance to finish a sentence before he began to foam at the mouth and plummeted toward the ground. That arrow was poisoned." Bude also let loose a cry of surprise. He then threw up a large mouthful of blood, and his life force quickly dissipated as he plummeted from the sky. Simpson was shocked to see this, and he immediately used his vital energy hand to catch the 2 of them. However, the 2 of them had already passed away after just a few short seconds. The 3 of them stared blankly at the 2 dead bodies, and their minds went completely blank as they temporarily lost the ability to think. Those were blood tribe cultivators with extremely powerful life force. Furthermore, Jeff and Bude were soul formation final stage blood tribe cultivators, so even if their heads were blown off, they could still regenerate. What kind of poison could kill beings with such terrifying life force in such a short time? Louise then seemed to realize something, and she looked down at her shoulder with horror etched on her face. The arrow wound there had yet to heal, which was extremely abnormal for a blood tribe cultivator. Ah! She couldn't help but scream before turning to Simpson and Cecil with a pleading expression. "Save me!" Her voice had only just fallen when she threw up a large mouthful of blood. Her body swayed slightly as her life force quickly dissipated, and she plummeted from the sky. Simpson and Cecil looked at each other as chills ran down their spines. Without saying a word, they turned around and ran. They really didn't have the courage to fight such a strange enemy. The blood tribe cultivators were proud of their extremely powerful life force, so they weren't afraid of battle. After all, it was very difficult for them to die in a battle of equal strength. Even if they couldn't win, they could still escape. However, when they discovered that someone could kill them with a light poke, they completely lost the will to fight. "Tina, you're responsible for picking up the storage rings." And Lynn flew toward the two fleeing blood tribe cultivators on his brick after uttering this sentence. Lu Choo-Choo also flew into the air as she turned to look at Lynn with an expression of shock on her face. Why is your blood so poisonous?" She couldn't help but ask. She had seen Louise's shoulder, and even then she was still poisoned to death. Just how poisonous would the blood have to be able to kill her? She didn't even dare to imagine. "I don't know either, but don't worry, this blood isn't poisonous to humans. It's only known to be poisonous to the blood tribe and the demons of hell." And Lynn replied. Lu Choo-Choo's lips twitched slightly. This poison lord's blood poison could choose its targets? How terrifying! We're close! And Lynn suddenly spoke. Lu Choo-Choo raised her head to see that the blood tribe cultivators were less than 500 meters away from them. However, they seemed to have unleashed their blood escape technique, and their speed increased drastically as the distance between them widened again. Right at this moment, and Lynn slashed toward his own arm with his evil slaying sword. Splat! Blood splattered through the air. Wings of wind. Wind sword. Bam! And Lynn's speed also increased drastically as he tore through the air, creating gale force winds. So fast! Lu Choo-Choo's eyes widened in shock as she was slowed down by the gale force winds created by Lynn. Not long after that, Lynn arrived before the two blood tribe cultivators, and his sword flashed as he slashed two bloody gashes into their bodies. What the F***CK? How can he be so fast? Simpson's expression turned pale with fright. These injuries are nothing. After all, we weren't attacked by the woman with the longbow behind us. There's a time limit to the man's speed increase, and we've already shaken him off our tail. All we need to do now is pay attention to the woman's poison arrow, Cecil consoled. Simpson nodded as he committed the faces of the two people behind him to memory. He was going to exact revenge next time. He was going to make those two suffer a fate worse than death. Just as he was thinking this, Simpson suddenly felt like throwing up. Erg. He threw up a large mouthful of blood, and at the same time he felt the vitality within his body being quickly sucked away as his flesh began to crumble. Cecil's eyes also widened in shock. He seemed to have realized something, and he looked behind him with a horrified expression. The man with the black sword had already stopped his pursuit. His long sword was stained with blood, and there was a mocking smile on his face. "So it's you!" He looked at Lynn's injured arm, and he finally came to a realization. However, it was all too late. Cecil and Simpson's eyes rolled into the back of their heads as they frothed at the mouth, and they plummeted toward the ground, losing all signs of life. Chapter 494. Just like that, 5 extremely powerful blood tribe cultivators were poisoned to death by Lin's blood. Even though Lu Chu had witnessed this with her own eyes, she was still struck by a sense of surrealism. And Lin picked up the 2 storage rings and hummed a tune as he made his way back. And Lin, I feel like if we develop your blood and release it into the dark marshlands battlefield, we'll be able to wipe out the entire blood tribe in a matter of minutes. Lu Chu exclaimed excitedly, and Lin chuckled. Are you trying to suck my blood dry? Lu Chu shook her head with a serious expression. No, I'm saying that if we analyze the properties of your blood and see what it is that is so lethal to the blood tribe, we might be able to develop chemical weapons that are extremely lethal to the blood tribe. And Lin rolled his eyes. You're not the first person to think that way. Back then, there really were people who extracted my blood for research, but they didn't discover anything. Let's not talk about this for now. Let's split the spoils of war. At this moment, Tina also flew over with the 3 storage rings from the blood tribe cultivators. There were a total of 5 storage rings, and Lu Chu received 2 storage rings this time, while Lin received 3 storage rings. Tina stood beside Lin with curiosity and anticipation on her face, and Lin began to refine the 3 storage rings and discovered many pleasant surprises. There were 2,100,000 vital stones, 16 spirit tools, over 30 spirit pills, and 2 immortal fruits. After using his divine inspection technique, he discovered that this was a 7th rank immortal fruit, the blood dragon fruit. It was a super nourishing fruit that could replenish one's blood essence in an extremely short amount of time, and it was extremely useful for those who had lost too much blood. Aside from that, there were 52 white realm essence crystals, 7 green realm essence crystals, and 2 blue realm essence crystals. Unfortunately, there were still no golden realm essence crystals. It appeared that these crystals were extremely rare in the ancient Tai Chu realm. The rest of the storage rings were just a bunch of random materials, and Lin didn't have the time to organize them, so he set them aside for now. Lu Chu counted the items in her storage ring with a joyful expression, and a devilish smile appeared on her face from time to time as she murmured to herself, "Ha! So much more money." As expected, this is heaven to me, and Lin didn't know whether he should be happy or worried about teaming up with Lu Chu, but he had a feeling that this woman had already gone berserk. He rummaged through the items in the 3 storage rings in boredom, and he suddenly discovered a black beast skin drawing. This was found in Simpson's storage ring. That person seemed to be the leader of the 5 blood tribe cultivators, so Lin paid more attention to his storage ring. He took out the animal skin map and looked at it curiously. The picture was a little strange. It was a picture of a lake in the mountains. There's a monster with a white body, long hair, and 4 limbs on the ground. It was looking up at the sky with its pitch-black eyes. Its limbs and body were all covered in small red eyes, and those with trypophobia would be completely unbearable. Lu Chu also poked her head over to look at the image. The lake and the mountain in this picture seemed to be from the White Lake realm. The 2 of them fell silent before looking at each other. A second later, the 2 of them flew toward the White Tiger realm without uttering a single word. This monster will definitely drop some good equipment. And Lin exclaimed with excitement, Lu Chu nodded. Perhaps the 5 blood tribe cultivators came to the edge of the White Lake for that monster. Let's look through the storage rings to see if there's any information, and Lin continued. All right. Lu Chu began to rummage through the storage rings. Soon, the 2 of them arrived at the edge of the White Lake. The lake water wasn't clear. Instead, it was a little murky and visibility was only about a dozen meters. There were all sorts of spell formations left behind by the blood tribe cultivators, most likely set up in advance to deal with the monster at the bottom of the lake. Oh, I've got it. There's information about the monster at the bottom of the lake. Lu Chu pulled out a golden page from her storage ring. There were 3 spell formations on it. She looked at the crimson words on the golden page and read slowly. In order to kill the thousand-eyed demonic dragon of the White Lake, I prepared a great explosion formation, a spirit destruction formation, and a blood-binding formation. And Lin's face convulsed as he looked at the spell formation in his hand. How does the monster at the bottom of the lake look like a dragon? There's nothing wrong with the term thousand-eyed. Lu Chu Chu brought the golden page to the 3 spell formations on the ground and compared them carefully before nodding. These are the 3 spell formations. And Lin, so the Blood Tribe is being considered enough to give us equipment and set up spell formations to help us fight the boss? Thank God. Lu Chu Chu stuck out her tongue with a mischievous smile. The golden page says that the monster at the bottom of the lake was discovered by the last group of Blood Tribe cultivators 500 years ago. However, they weren't well prepared at the time, and almost all of them were wiped out. Now that they've returned, they're still unwilling to give up. After some analysis, they prepared 3 spell formations that are specifically designed to kill the monster at the bottom of the lake. The golden page says that the thousand-eyed demonic dragon has 2 forms, which are a human and a dragon. It's extremely fast, so don't let it get close to you. Otherwise, something unimaginable will happen. The golden page also says that we should use the great explosion formation to wound the monster at the bottom of the lake before luring it out. After that, we should use the blood-binding formation to trap the demonic dragon, then use the spirit destruction formation to kill the demonic dragon. Lu Chu Chu glanced at Lin as she read to the end, as if asking for his opinion, and Lin thought about it for a moment before nodding. We can try this method. I'll activate the spell formations, and Tina will be by my side, ready to engage at a moment's notice. Lu Chu Chu, you stay as far away from the center of the battle as possible and be responsible for sniping. Lu Chu Chu didn't have any objections. Tina had been slacking off for a long time, and her super holy sword was itching for battle as well. Lu Chu Chu began to open up some distance before finding a sniping spot with a good vantage point. And Lin arrived at the great explosion formation first. The veined patterns on this formation extended all the way to the bottom of the lake, and it was extremely massive. The aura emanating from the formation seemed to be directed toward the center of the lake. Great explosion formation, explode! Vital energy surged violently as he roared, and the veined patterns on the ground began to glow with a bright red light. The waters of the lake began to churn as a fearsome amount of energy accumulated at the bottom of the lake. Boom! An earth-shattering boom erupted, and the earth tremored violently in that instant. The surface of the lake, which was several kilometers wide, suddenly rose into the air as the energy from the explosion turned the entire surface of the lake crimson. Scorching heat waves swept through the surroundings as a series of terrifying cracks appeared on the ground. Gasp! A sharp screeching sound erupted from the bottom of the lake, and a figure appeared at the center of the lake. It was around 10 feet tall, and its 4 limbs dangled from the ground. Countless crimson eyes glowed with a peculiar light as they revolved around its pristine white body. Its head was that of a human, and its inky black eyes were staring intently at Lin. A chill ran down Lin's spine as he was stared at by this creature. He knew that the creature standing before him was none other than the monster of the White Lake, the thousand-eyed demonic dragon. F***CK. Didn't we agree to use the great explosion formation to lure the thousand-eyed demonic dragon out? I did see it, but what about its injuries? I'll be fine if I just take a look at its injuries. But what's with its smooth skin? A feeling like he had been screwed over began to spread through Lin's heart. However, he didn't have any time to hesitate. He immediately ran toward the blood-binding formation and activated it. At this moment, all of the thousand-eyed demonic dragon's eyes turned toward Lin. Chapter 495. What was it like to be stared at by over 1,000 peculiar eyes? And Lin accidentally made eye contact with them, upon which he was immediately struck by a sense of dizziness and weakness, as if he had been stabbed by over 1,000 silver needles. However, he still managed to rush over to the blood-binding formation before circulating his vital energy in a frenzy to activate the formation. The thousand-eyed demonic dragon's body flashed as it transformed into a white afterimage, moving at a frighteningly fast speed. Blood-binding formation, activate! And Lin stomped his foot and activated the formation to its fullest extent. Vital energy surged, and several hundred crimson arms materialized from within the formation before pouncing toward the thousand-eyed demonic dragon like venomous snakes. The thousand-eyed demonic dragon's movement techniques were extremely ghostly, but it was unable to defend against so many arms. Soon, its body was bound tightly by the crimson arms, and it was unable to do anything else. And Lin's eyes lit up upon seeing this. This formation did not disappoint him. He didn't waste any more time and immediately rushed over to the third formation before activating it with all his might. Spirit breaking formation, activate! The formation beneath his feet quickly activated as a bright red light erupted forth. Immediately afterward, a red-robed divine spirit appeared behind Lin. It made a strange hand seal with both hands as violent spiritual power converged toward its hands. And Lin glanced at the divine spirit behind him. He didn't even need to guess to know that this was a blood tribe divine spirit. Using the power of the blood tribe to kill a boss felt a little strange. However, there was no way to stop now. He could only continue. Spirit-breaking seal. A vast and majestic voice rang out from behind him. The red-robed divine spirit made a hand seal with both hands before pushing it toward the thousand-eyed demonic dragon. An ancient crimson seal grew larger and larger before crashing into the thousand-eyed demonic dragon's body with a peculiar power that struck fear into one's soul. Boom! The ancient seal's impact enshrouded the demonic dragon in crimson energy, and it was transformed into a pillar of blood that shot into the sky. The fearsome explosion of energy caused the water in the lake to churn and evaporate. A series of bloody gashes appeared on the thousand-eyed demonic dragon's body as the spirit-breaking formation tore at its consciousness. Its 4 limbs began to wrap around its body, and its body slowly shrank into a spherical shape. And Lin stared at the thousand-eyed demonic dragon with a perplexed expression. What was going on? Before he could react, the white ball began to spread outward like an explosion. Rumble! A deafening explosion resounded. The red energy and the tentacles were all shattered by the terrifying energy. A white salamander appeared in front of Lin, spreading its snow-like wings and hovering in the air. It was only about 6 meters long, but its terrifying aura made people's hearts palpitate. White Dragon's pure, white body suddenly split open. Numerous scarlet eyes appeared on the surface of his skin. These eyes stared at Lin and trembled slightly. It was an extremely terrifying sight, and Lin could sense a very special power emanating from the white dragon's body. This power was extremely powerful, but it couldn't be categorized by their current cultivation bases. This was a type of ethereal and extremely detestable power. This was most likely the second form of the thousand-eyed demonic dragon. From this, the blood tribe's information was quite useful. However, Lin really didn't understand where the blood tribe was getting their confidence from. Why did they think they could kill this demonic dragon with their 3 spell formations? The 3 spell formations had only forced the thousand-eyed demonic dragon to reveal its second form. What was he supposed to do next? Speaking of which, couldn't the blood tribe be more reliable? Did they think they could be so confident just because they had more blood? The thousand-eyed demonic dragon crouched down slightly, and a terrifying power began to build up in its body. It was clearly ready to attack. Right at this moment, a streak of pink light tore through the air toward the thousand-eyed demonic dragon with boundless killing intent. This was Lu Chuchu's arrow, which was a killing technique that she had prepared in advance. The arrow was imbued with terrifying power, and it instantly tore the thousand-eyed demonic dragon's body in half. It was so fast that the thousand-eyed demonic dragon had no time to react. Insta-kill. And Lin was astonished. And Lin felt like he had just stabbed a flag into the ground. Before he even had a chance to finish his sentence, the two halves of the thousand-eyed demonic dragon wriggled in the air before transforming into two smaller thousand-eyed demonic dragons. This kind of disgusting power was really annoying. Whoosh! The 2,000-eyed demonic dragons transformed into white afterimages as they pounced toward Lin. Tina let loose a cold cry as her heart lotus ice sword slashed through the air in a blue crescent arc. The temperature in the area within a radius of over 1,000 feet plummeted, and extremely frosty energy fluctuations swept toward the 2,000-eyed demonic dragons before clashing with them. The 2,000-eyed demonic dragons faltered momentarily. Right at this moment, and Lin's sword had already slashed toward one of the thousand-eyed demonic dragons like a bolt of lightning. Whoosh! The black sword blade tore through the thousand-eyed demonic dragon's white body, but there was no blood splattering through the air. He could only see white flesh wriggling incessantly within the wound, and there weren't even any organs. It was as if he had sliced a ball of energy in half, but this ball of energy was extremely powerful and was able to chase after him. How the F***CK was he supposed to fight this? Sure enough, the body that had been sliced in half by Lin split again into two smaller thousand-eyed demonic dragons, which he referred to as Little 3 demonic dragons. The larger thousand-eyed demonic dragon had split into two smaller thousand-eyed demonic dragons, and now they had split into one little 2 demonic dragon and two little 3 demonic dragons. Tina and the little 2 demonic dragon were locked in battle, and she didn't dare to attack the thousand-eyed demonic dragon anymore after discovering that Lin was giving the thousand-eyed demonic dragon a free ride. Instead, she used the power of extreme frost within her heart lotus ice sword to keep the thousand-eyed demonic dragon at bay while casting a pleading gaze toward Lin. And Lin discovered that these two little 3 demonic dragons were on par with the thousand-eyed demonic dragon in terms of speed and power, and he was extremely frustrated. If things continued like this, he would be screwed sooner or later. Lu Chu stood on a high vantage point in the distance as she observed the battle unfolding before her eyes, but she was hesitant to strike. She really couldn't do anything. Attacking without careful thought would only make things more difficult for her teammates. She had to think of a way to break out of this predicament and act according to the situation. And Lin's sword techniques were extremely powerful, and each one of them was a lethal strike. However, he didn't even dare to use his sword techniques in the face of these dragons. He was afraid that he would slice Little 3 into 2 Little 4s, F***CK off. He unleashed his mountain-quaking lightning fist to knock one of the thousand-eyed demonic dragons flying. However, the other thousand-eyed demonic dragon flashed before him like a ghost, and a peculiar light flashed through its inky black eyes. Plunder! A hellish murmur sounded in front of Lin. An invisible ripple enshrouded Lin's body, and the thousand-eyed demonic dragon's crimson eyes suddenly closed, as if it had fallen into a deep slumber. It was also in that instant that Lin felt as if he had lost something. His heart jolted with shock, and he immediately unleashed his mountain-quaking lightning fist toward the demonic dragon. Lightning manipulation fist with his left hand and golden fist with his right. The golden fist shot forth, and the thousand-eyed demonic dragon transformed into a series of afterimages as it hurtled back in retreat, evading the golden fist. And Lin was rooted to the spot. He wasn't frightened by the thousand-eyed demonic dragon's speed. Instead, he was frightened by himself. Where's my lightning manipulation technique? Lightning manipulation technique. He activated his cultivation method, and his fingertips moved slightly as he yelled. However, his fingertips didn't react in the slightest. At the same time, the thousand-eyed demonic dragon that had just closed in on Lin suddenly flew into the air. Lightning manipulation technique. A sinister and hoarse dragon's roar sounded as blue lightning surged in the sky, and a terrifying lightning might continue to accumulate. And Lin's mouth gaped open in shock as he looked up at the scenes unfolding in the sky. He finally understood what the thousand-eyed demonic dragon meant by plunder. It was F*King plundering his spell technique. How could it possess such a powerful ability? What the hell was this thousand-eyed demonic dragon? Chapter 496. The bolts of lightning in the sky transformed into countless silver snakes that hurtled toward Lin. And Lin spread open his wings of wind and evaded the countless bolts of lightning. These bolts of lightning were extremely powerful, and each and every one of them was able to blast a massive crater into the ground. Thankfully, these bolts of lightning weren't as powerful as Golden Void lightning. Otherwise, he would have been in dire straits. One of the 3 demonic dragons was drawing lightning in the sky, while the other one was chasing Lin relentlessly. Its white dragon claws slashed through the air, and the sound of air being torn apart sounded like the wails of a wailing ghost. The 2,000-eyed demonic dragons worked extremely well together, and Lin was unable to find an opportunity to retaliate. Divine technique, wind explosive arrow. In the distance, a white arrow projection flashed through the air before transforming into a thick pillar of white light imbued with extremely powerful wind pressure and explosive power. The pillar of light struck the thousand-eyed demonic dragon in the sky with a resounding boom. The wind pressure exploded upon every inch of the thousand-eyed demonic dragon's skin. In that instant, it felt as if its body had been flattened by some kind of fearsome power, and its body was blasted back several hundred meters before tumbling to the ground with a resounding boom. In that instant, Lin came to a realization. He couldn't use sharp weapons to slice open the thousand-eyed demonic dragon. So could he use a type of power that encompassed the entire body of the demonic dragon to kill it? Just as he was thinking this, the divine flame bead had already appeared in his palm. A series of golden flaming dragons revolved around the crimson bead, exuding an extremely fearsome power. At this moment, the smaller dragon that had been struck by the wind explosive arrow had already crawled up from the ground. It was no longer looking at Lin. Instead, it was looking toward a certain direction in the distance as an extremely dangerous aura emanated from its body. And Lin's heart jolted upon seeing this. He knew that Lu Chu had been targeted. Right at this moment, the 2 smaller dragons pounced toward Lu Chu at the same time. Ah! Tina's scream also sounded from afar, and Lin could see the thousand-eyed demonic dragon approaching Tina and exuding an invisible ripple. Plunder! And Lin immediately released Gundam 1 and Gundam 2 upon seeing this. Go help Tina! With that, he spread his wings of the wind and pounced towards the 2 little dragons. Lu Chu's reactions were extremely quick. She knew that she couldn't allow the thousand-eyed demonic dragon to get close to her, so she continued to retreat. At the same time, she unleashed a series of massive water dragons from her longbow toward the thousand-eyed demonic dragon. A few breaths later, Lin had also arrived beside one of the 3 demonic dragons. Boundless yellow-white flames erupted from the divine flame bead and enveloped the dragon within. With the help of the high-grade immortal tool, the divine flame bead, he was able to circulate the divine flame within his body to the maximum. Rumble! The yellow-white flames instantly enveloped the space within a radius of over 1,000 feet, engulfing and melting everything within it. From afar, it looked as if a small sun had suddenly appeared on the ground, emitting boundless light and heat. Hiss! The thousand-eyed demonic dragon roared in pain and retreated relentlessly in an attempt to escape from the range of the flames. And Lin's eyes lit up. He knew that his attack was working, so he wasn't going to let it off the hook again. However, right at this moment, Tina's scream erupted from nearby. And Lin thought that something had happened to Tina, and he immediately turned around. He was then greeted by the sight of Tina staring at the 2 Gundams with a dumbstruck expression, as if she was at a complete loss for what to do. He blinked as he turned to look at the two Gundams, upon which he drew a sharp intake of breath. The two Gundams stood on the ground with light swords in their hands in a majestic manner. In front of them was the shattered body of the thousand-eyed demonic dragon. That's right, the thousand-eyed demonic dragon had been sliced into several dozen pieces by the two Gundams, and Lin's lips twitched uncontrollably. Should he praise the two Gundams for their sword techniques? With the power of the two Gundams, it was clear that the thousand-eyed demonic dragon had intentionally allowed itself to be sliced apart, and Lin clasped his face in his hands. He should have told the two Gundams not to attack with sharp weapons, but it was all too late now. Sure enough, the chunks of flesh on the ground began to squirm. They first transformed into white balls before slowly transforming into miniature versions of the thousand-eyed demonic dragon, Great Holy Flame, Demonic Star Flame, Setting Moon Flame, Heavenly Void Flame. And Lin held the divine flame bead in his hand as he attacked the chunks of flesh on the ground without any hesitation. For flaming dragons, materialized from different divine flames, roared as they pounced toward the thousand-eyed demonic dragon's body. The air within a radius of over 10,000 feet began to warp and shimmer, just as the four flaming dragons pounced toward the thousand-eyed demonic dragon's body. The three Gundams that had pounced toward Lu Chuchu had already arrived before the dragon's remains. All of the crimson eyes on their bodies suddenly shattered, immediately following which a red barrier of light enshrouded an area with a radius of several hundred feet. Boom! The explosion of flames created a shockwave that caused the earth to crack open and the mountains to tremor violently. Within the boundless sea of flames, the red barrier of light stood firm and released an extremely powerful burst of power that completely dispelled the flames. Tina, Gundam 1 and Gundam 2 had already arrived beside Lin, ready to retreat at a moment's notice. The three Gundams that had shattered their crimson eyes suddenly disintegrated into a pool of white liquid that splattered onto the ground, completely devoid of vitality. And Lin came to a realization upon seeing this. So it's unable to maintain its vitality after its eyes are shattered. Looks like the thousand-eyed demonic dragon's true form is an eye. Immediately afterward, his heart thumped in his chest. It's willing to sacrifice a quarter of its eyes to protect its body. What does that mean? His voice had only just fallen when the balls of light transformed into miniature, thousand-eyed demonic dragons. There were 50 to 60 of them at a glance. A terrifying power radiated forth in all directions, and the crimson eyes seemed to be imbued with a terrifying power that threatened to engulf all things. And Lin felt like this type of splitting didn't follow the law of conservation of energy at all. If one were to split into two, they would at least be a lot weaker. However, these dragons were split into several dozen, and each one of them was only around 30% weaker than before. As such, the combined power of several dozen dragons was far too terrifying at the same time, behind a mountain on the border of the White Lake realm. There were two beings with concealed auras surveying the battle taking place near the White Lake. A semi-transparent jellyfish that was about half the size of a grown man hovered in the air with white lightning flashing on its tentacles. Hongdo? Is that the Lin you were talking about? A burly rock golem with flames burning on its chest nodded with astonishment on its face. There's no mistaking it. He's Lin. Who would have thought that he would also be in the ancient Taichu realm? And who would have thought that he would progress from the spirit-nurturing initial stage to the soul-formation intermediate stage in just over a year after the Tao Exchange Conference of the Four Powers? He's definitely a freak. But he's already in a difficult battle. The jellyfish chuckled. The Celestial Court is also our ally. Should we help them? Hong Do blinked his flaming eyes as he recalled the times when he was bullied by Lin, and a smile suddenly appeared on his face. Help. It would be inexcusable if we don't help each other when we're from the same hometown. When they're about to be finished, we'll make our appearance and become their saviors, an existence that they need to look up to. When that time comes, my heroism will be deeply engraved into their minds. A smug smile appeared on Hongdo's face as his heart was filled with anticipation. Chapter 497. Tina stood on Lin's shoulder and gripped tightly onto his hair with a hint of shock and horror in her eyes. What kind of monster is this dragon? It's way too terrifying. Even my holy light power was stolen by it. Wah, I don't even have my holy light anymore. What kind of demonic being am I? Tina was soon overcome by grief, and she began to sob uncontrollably, and Lin heaved a forlorn sigh. I told you to calm down. My lightning manipulation technique was also stolen by this demonic dragon. Do you think I have anything to complain about? Just as they were speaking, the 40 miniature thousand-eyed demonic dragons began to emanate holy light as an even more powerful aura began to emanate from their bodies. And Lin, are we still going to fight? Lu Chu transmitted her voice from afar. Yes, all of our spell techniques have been stolen. We can't let these demonic dragons take advantage of us. And Lin gritted his teeth. Lu Chu got it. The idiotic Gundams received Lin's instructions, and they put away their light swords in order to attack with fire. After stealing Lin's lightning manipulation technique, the miniature thousand-eyed demonic dragon appeared at the forefront of the 40 miniature demonic dragons, as if it were a general leading an army. Unfortunately, the strategy of capturing the ringleader first couldn't be used here. If a third party fell, tens of thousands of substitutes would rush in to replace them. All Lin could do was burn all of them to death. Right at this moment, the miniature thousand-eyed demonic dragon crouched down, and all of its previously closed eyes opened. Its crimson eyes became even more vibrant, as if it had undergone some kind of transformation. Kacha, the lightning revolving around the miniature thousand-eyed demonic dragon's body, became crimson lightning as it exuded an even more fearsome power, and Lin's pupils contracted slightly. It evolved. He knew that the blue lightning had been modified by the thousand-eyed dragon using his lightning manipulation technique, but this crimson lightning, which was even more terrifying, had been fused with the thousand-eyed dragon's power, thereby making it even more powerful. And Lin couldn't help but turn toward the miniature thousand-eyed demonic dragons. Their eyes were closed after absorbing the power of Tina's holy light. In other words, when they opened their eyes again, they would be even more awesome? We can't wait any longer. Let's attack together. And Lin held the divine flame bead in his hand as he charged toward the dozens of miniature thousand-eyed dragons. The 3,000-eyed dragon held the 30-meter-long red thunderbolt in its hand and thrust it at Lin. And Lin used the lightning manipulation technique out of habit, but he immediately realized that he no longer had that ability. He hurriedly dodged to the side, but the speed of lightning was not that easy to dodge. By the time he reacted, it was already too late. The red lightning instantly pierced through his shoulder. A numbing and tearing sensation immediately spread throughout his body, causing him to tremble uncontrollably. This feeling was so wonderful. It had been too long since he had been struck by lightning so brutally. This kind of pain actually made him feel a little emotional. It was also at this moment that the 40 miniature thousand-eyed demonic dragons glowed with holy light, and they opened their mouths as a terrifying amount of energy converged toward them. Boom, boom, boom. The demonic dragons unleashed a series of devastating blasts of holy light toward Lin and the others. Each and every one of these blasts was comparable to a full-force attack from a soul formation intermediate stage cultivator. With so many blasts of holy light, the earth-shattering power unleashed by them struck everyone with a sense of asphyxiation. And Lin immediately expanded his black brick to shield himself, and Tina also hid behind him in fear. Violent explosions of holy light then inundated the area within a radius of over a kilometer. The poor Gundams didn't have enough time to evade and were inundated by the blasts of holy light. Giant and Lin, they're simply too powerful. We can't even get close to them. Tina stood on Lin's shoulder with a fearful expression on her face. The ferocious, holy light cannon fire seemed to be relentless as it crashed down upon the brick. With each and every strike, Lin's body would be pushed back by the immense force emanating from the brick. Lin had also been given a fright by the thousand-eyed demonic dragon's power. They were insanely powerful. Was he going to have to unleash his origin energy of the netherworld again after he had just recovered from his injuries? Just as Lin was hesitating, a burst of hearty laughter suddenly erupted from the sky. Ha ha ha! Lin, you're still so useless. Let me, Hongdo, save you. A muscular figure flew toward them atop a monstrous cloud of flames. Lin's mouth gaped open as he looked at the rock golem. My lover is a peerless hero, and one day he'll come to me atop a rainbow cloud. Hongdo's muscular rock body burned with crimson flames, and he looked extremely mighty as he charged toward the miniature dragons. Linging, I'll leave those minions to you. Easy. A semi-transparent jellyfish flew through the air like a gentle breeze. It appeared to be moving very slowly, but it was actually extremely fast as it arrived above the miniature thousand-eyed demonic dragons. Its tentacles spread open like a net, instantly encompassing an area with a radius of over 1 kilometer, encompassing all of the miniature thousand-eyed demonic dragons. Divine lightning hell. White divine lightning exploded from its tentacles, transforming into countless silver snakes that surged through the air, creating an extremely terrifying lightning hell that enshrouded all of the living beings down below. Haha, die, you little sh*t. Let me teach you a lesson. Hongdo charged toward the miniature dragons atop a fiery cloud of flames before crashing his fist down upon them with unimaginable force. Boom! Shock waves swept forth for several hundred meters. The miniature dragon's body caved in from Hongdo's fist, and it plummeted to the ground like a cannonball. Ha ha ha! How about Grandpa Do's fists? I'll let you have your fill. Hongdo chortled as his crimson flaming fists rained down upon the miniature dragons, causing the ground to tremor violently. Right at this moment, the jellyfish suddenly let loose a wail of anguish. Linging, are you all right? Hongdo turned toward the jellyfish with a nervous expression. The countless bolts of white lightning suddenly changed directions and crashed toward the jellyfish in the sky. Rumble! The jellyfish was completely dumbstruck by its own lightning, and it fled into the distance with all its might. Lin's lips twitched upon seeing this. This was most likely the fault of his lightning manipulation technique. Right at this moment, the little 3 demonic dragon took advantage of this opening to appear before Hongdo, and a peculiar ripple emanated from its inky black eyes in the blink of an eye. Plunder! Hongdo felt as if he had lost something in that instant. Astonishment welled up in his heart, and he launched a fist toward the miniature dragons without any hesitation. The miniature dragon seemed to have anticipated this, and its body transformed into a series of white afterimages as it retreated in retreat. The countless eyes on its body closed, as if it was digesting something. At the same time, its body was enveloped by crimson flames, from which terrifying heat waves proliferated outward in all directions. Hongdo's eyes widened as he stared at the miniature dragons. This was a familiar power, a power that it was most proud of. It looked down at its chest to find that it was completely devoid of any color, as if it were a useless rock. My life force is gone. Hongdo's mouth gaped open, and his eyes glazed over, as if he were a rock that had lost its dreams and beliefs. Bam! Before he knew it, the miniature dragons had already struck Hongdo's body with their white dragon claws, and Hongdo was instantly slammed into the ground. It then clenched its claws into fists, from which countless crimson flaming fists rained down upon Hongdo. Flames swept through the ground, causing the ground to tremor violently, just like what Hongdo had done to it in the past. Hongdo lay on the ground, completely devoid of any desire to retaliate. Even the power that he was most proud of was gone, So what was the point of retaliating? It was better to just be a useless rock. Chapter 498. Just as the jellyfish by the name of Linging was fleeing frantically, and Hong Do was beginning to doubt his own life, a golden arrow hurtled through the air like the light of dawn piercing through the darkness, illuminating heaven and earth. Everyone could only see a boundless golden light. Divine technique, divine evil-vanquishing arrow. The golden arrow hurtled toward the dozens of miniature thousand-eyed demonic dragons before splitting into 10, 10 into 100, and 100 into 1,000. In the end, the countless golden arrows formed a massive golden seal in the air. Boom! A terrifying sealing force crashed down upon the bodies of the thousand-eyed demonic dragons. And Lin and Tina also understood what was going on at this moment, and they immediately charged toward the miniature dragons. Lu Chu Chu had created an extremely good opportunity for them. These miniature dragons, which were imbued with the power of holy light, posed the greatest threat, and they had to take this opportunity to eliminate them. Tina's aura soared to the very peak as she wielded her Heart Lotus Ice Sword. She let loose a delicate cry as she slashed her long sword toward the miniature dragons. Blue ripples proliferated outward for over a kilometer, and thousands of blue lotus flowers blossomed on the ground below them. The power of holy light erupted from the miniature dragons that had been suppressed by the divine evil-vanquishing arrow. Just as they were about to struggle free, the blue lotus flowers beneath their feet unleashed a power that was powerful enough to freeze the space around them. And Lin hovered the divine flame bead before him as he activated his 4 divine flames to their maximal extent. Great holy flame, appear! A scintillating sun appeared above the heads of the miniature thousand-eyed demonic dragons. Demonic star flame, appear! The sky transformed into a sea of purple flames with specks of dazzling starlight imbued within them. Setting moon flame, heavenly void flame. On the ground below, the blue flames formed a terrifying wave that swept toward the thousand-eyed demonic dragons with a power that could freeze and melt all living beings. The invisible heavenly void flame engulfed the entire space with the power to annihilate all things. Sea of divine flames, activate! A crimson symbol appeared on the back of Lin's hand, which glowed with a brilliant light and resonated with the divine flame bead in his hand. The purple flames enshrouded the white starlight, fell toward the ground like a meteorite. The sun began to spew out boundless golden flames, scorching all living beings in the area in a frenzy. The dark blue flames set off monstrous waves, like a flood or a ferocious beast, unstoppable. The invisible void flame energy was everywhere, burning every inch of the demonic dragon's skin. The entire sky, earth, sun, moon, and void had transformed into a purgatory furnace, leaving no place for the miniature thousand-eyed demonic dragons to escape. Within the divine flame bead, a golden flaming dragon roared as it was drawn into the sea of flames of 4 spirits. It was like the monarch of all flames as it devoured the thousand-eyed demonic dragons in a frenzy. The severely injured jellyfish turned his head to look at the sea of 4 divine flames, which was powerful enough to incinerate all living things, and was startled. Is this a spell technique Lin used? Isn't this 2F** King Scary? The terrifying power of the flames melted the ground in a radius of several kilometers, and even the thousand-eyed demonic dragon was unable to withstand the destructive power of the flames. Its holy light began to shatter, and its body was scorched by the flames as its eyes began to crack open. Not long after, the flames began to disperse. There was no longer any trace of the thousand-eyed demonic dragon on the ground. It had clearly been completely engulfed by the terrifying flames, and Lin half knelt to the ground with an exhausted expression, and there was a fine sheen of sweat on his forehead. He had unleashed the sea of 4 divine flames with all his might, and he had almost completely depleted all of his vital energy. Giant Lin, I can feel my power of holy light returning. Tina flew toward Lin with excitement on her face as she waved her glowing little hands. And Lin heaved a sigh of relief upon hearing this before turning toward another direction with a cold expression. Now, it's time to take back my lightning manipulation technique. At this moment, the miniature thousand-eyed demonic dragon sensed that something was amiss and had already stopped attacking Hong Do. Hong Do lay half dead in the crater with crimson lava flowing all over his body, but the scorching lava was unable to warm his cold and dejected heart. The miniature thousand-eyed demonic dragon turned toward Lin, and its voice was filled with resentment and hatred. "You destroyed my body, Dai." Crimson lightning flashed, and the miniature thousand-eyed demonic dragon closed in on Lin at an extremely terrifying speed. And Lin had just unleashed the sea of 4 divine flames, and his body was still completely depleted. The blood spirit pill he had just swallowed hadn't fully taken effect, so he was given a massive fright by the miniature thousand-eyed demonic dragon's fearless attack. Tina positioned herself in front of him, and her blue long sword slashed through the air with an extremely powerful burst of glacial sword intent that swept toward the thousand-eyed demonic dragon, leaving a vast expanse of white frost in its wake. To her surprise, the miniature thousand-eyed demonic dragon made no attempt to evade. The cracks on its pristine white skin suddenly split open, revealing countless crimson eyes. At the same time, extremely scorching crimson flames erupted from its body, which formed a crimson suit of armor around its body. The sword intent unleashed by Tina's slash was already showing signs of melting before it had even come into contact with the flaming armor, thereby illustrating just how terrifyingly hot the armor was. The sword strike collided with the armor, and it was as if an explosion of ice and fire had erupted, painting heaven and earth in a crimson blue hue. A bolt of crimson lightning suddenly pierced through the explosion before hurtling toward Tina. Tina was caught off guard, and she could only raise her long sword to defend herself. Immediately afterward, she felt an extremely powerful bolt of lightning hurtling toward her, tearing at her body. She let loose a pained cry as her body plummeted toward the ground. At this moment, the white figure had already passed by Tina and appeared before Lin with greed and bloodthirst in its eyes. Plunder! A terrifying ripple began to proliferate outward, and Lin's lips curled up into a faint smile. He was holding the vermilion bird mirror in his hand. The vermilion bird mirror had a special ability, which was that it could reflect an enemy's spell technique once after charging. A ripple enshrouded Lin's body before slowly transforming into a semi-transparent mirror. The thousand-eyed demonic dragon faltered slightly at the sight of itself in the mirror. At this moment, the mysterious ripple crashed into the mirror before suddenly retracting itself. Whoosh! And Lin was suddenly struck by a peculiar feeling. He could sense 4 completely different types of power. One was pure and yang, imbued with dazzling divine might. One was explosive like fire. One was capable of splitting all things, and one was like a bottomless black hole that was filled with greed and engulfment. He felt like the first type of power was most likely his lightning manipulation technique, the second was most likely Hong Do's power, the third was most likely the thousand-eyed demonic dragon's power, and the fourth, could it be the power of plunder? His original intention was to take back his lightning manipulation technique. But when he sensed the fourth power, he was very curious as to why he chose this miraculous power. Reflecting the thousand-eyed demonic dragon's plunder technique to plunder the thousand-eyed demonic dragon's power of plunder. For some reason, he felt like this was very exciting. In the blink of an eye, the plunder ritual had already been completed in the instant that the ripples of light rebounded from his body. A rare dumbstruck expression appeared on the thousand-eyed demonic dragon's face. It felt like it had lost something. Ding dong! Detected that host has come into contact with the absolute beginning body of essence, doppelganger. Now assigning the following special mission. Completely destroy the absolute beginning body of essence, doppelganger. Mission success. You will receive the Spiritual Cultivation Series, Divine Plunder Technique. Mission failure. no punishment. The mirror shattered, and the thousand-eyed demonic dragon was greeted by the sight of Enlin standing before it with an indescribable smile on his face. The image of an eye constructed from golden lines suddenly appeared on Enlin's forehead. Immediately afterward, invisible ripples began to proliferate outward, fusing with the great Tao of heaven and earth. Plunder. Chapter 499. Golden ripples spread out in all directions, instantly enveloping the 3,000-eyed demonic dragon. The 3,000-eyed demonic dragon was all too familiar with this energy. However, it discovered that this energy was a little different because the ripples were actually golden. Then it felt as if it had lost something for the first time. A look of horror appeared on the small, three-eyed demonic dragon's face, and it let out a roar before rapidly retreating. And Lin had already used his plunder technique to steal away the three-eyed demonic dragon's ability to split all living things. He pulled out his evil-slaying sword again as a faint smile appeared on his face. Then, let me see if you'll turn into 4 demonic dragons after I slice you in half, second tier of wind spirit, wings of wind. 6 strikes of the war god, wind sword. And Lin's speed was elevated explosively under the effects of the double acceleration spell technique, and he rapidly closed in on the fleeing 3,000-eyed demonic dragon. Evildoer, where do you think you're going? Eat my sword. And Lin raised his evil-slaying sword high into the air, upon which streaks of white wind revolved around the sword projection before crashing down upon the small 3,000-eyed demonic dragon with an extremely sharp might. Hua! The small, 3,000-eyed demonic dragon was sliced in half by the evil-slaying sword, and its body plummeted to the ground. There was no blood splattering. It was as if a large lump of flour had been chopped into 2. The 2 lumps of white flesh wriggled and tried to divide, but no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't divide into new organs. The thousand-eyed demonic dragon's eyes followed Enlin's gaze, and its eyes were filled with shock and confusion. The power of plunder was an inherent source of power, yet this man was able to steal it and use it. What kind of monster was he? And Lin chuckled coldly as he made his way toward the thousand-eyed demonic dragon. He didn't waste any time with words as he unleashed his 4 divine flames to engulf the thousand-eyed demonic dragon and began to roast it in a frenzy. The thousand-eyed demonic dragon howled as its crimson eyes began to crack open, and its body began to tremble. The 4 divine fires continued to burn until the last bit of energy in Enlin's body had been sucked dry. Only then did the fire stop. At this moment, the thousand-eyed demonic dragon on the ground had already been reduced to charcoal with no chance of resurrection. Invisible ripples proliferated outward, and Enlin could sense that he seemed to be able to unleash his lightning manipulation technique again. However, the power that he had obtained from the thousand-eyed demonic dragon was slowly dissipating. The crimson flames in Hong Do's chest were also reignited by the return of his power, and his body was filled with life force that he hadn't felt in a long time. Ding dong! Congratulations on completing the quest. You will now receive the divine plunder technique. The golden eye pattern on Enlin's forehead dimmed before disappearing into his skin. He took a deep breath and opened his bright eyes. There was a satisfied look on his face. As expected, all of the divine plunder technique spell techniques were extremely useful. This divine plunder technique was very similar to the thousand-eyed demonic dragon's plunder technique in that it could be unleashed from a range of over 100 meters. As long as one made eye contact with an enemy, one would be able to plunder the enemy's unique spell technique power. The time limit was 10 minutes, and it could accommodate up to 3 types of energy at the same time. My flame of life has returned. Hong Do murmured to himself within the massive crater. He crawled out from the crater and was greeted by the sight of a figure in a flowing white robe with his back to him. The figure was wielding a black long sword, and the figure was enshrouded in a faint light, making him appear especially tall and mighty. Say, Senior, were you the one who saved me? Hong Do spoke with tears in his eyes, but his face was filled with gratitude and reverence. The figure turned to look at Hong Do, and a smile suddenly appeared on his face. "So it's you, Mr. Hong Do. How are you going to thank me for saving you?" Hong Do was instantly rooted to the spot at the sight of this figure. "Holy F***CK! It's you!" he roared as 10,000 alpacas stampeded over his heart. He was saved by Enlin? Wasn't he supposed to be the one to save Enlin? This wasn't how things were supposed to go. A woman in a pink dress descended from the sky and landed lightly beside Enlin with furrowed brows. Why doesn't such a powerful dragon have anything in it? Enlin shrugged in resignation. This life form is quite special, so I had no choice but to burn it to ashes in order to avoid any accidents. I was wondering if something like realm essence crystals would appear in its body after I burned it to ashes, but it looks like I was overthinking things. Lu Chu pouted with displeasure. "I might as well kill you and steal your treasures, Enlin." It made sense. He had fought so hard and nearly lost his life, but he had finally defeated an ancient boss. But who would have thought that the boss wouldn't drop any equipment, not even gold coins? Why were they still fighting so hard? Anyone would be heartbroken to see this happen. In reality, Enlin wasn't all that upset. After all, he had obtained a hack, so he was quite happy. However, he couldn't show this on his face in case Lu Chu felt even more depressed. He was just that considerate. It was better for the two of them to suffer together than for one of them to obtain an opportunity while the other continued to suffer. At this moment, the jellyfish floating in the sky also slowly descended beside Enlin. It introduced itself in an ethereal voice. "Hello, fellow cultivators. I am Ling Ying from the Hall of Creation in the Creation Realm." And Lin nodded and also cupped his fists in salute. "Hello, Ling Ying. I am Enlin from the Celestial Court of the Kingdom of the 9 States." Lu Chu also introduced herself. "Hello. I am Lu Chu from the Celestial Court of the Kingdom of the 9 States. I am Tina from the Central City." Tina flapped her golden wings with a wide grin. Hong Do swallowed a regenerative pill and limped over to them. He looked at Enlin with a sheepish expression before pursing his lips. He then turned to Lu Chu. "I am Hong Do from the Hall of Creation in the Creation Realm." Lu Chu's eyes lit up. So he was Hong Do, the 4th best cultivator? And Lin bowed to Hong Do and Ling Ying with gratitude on his face. "Thank you for saving my life. I must thank you in advance." Regardless of the outcome, Hong Do and Ling Ying had indeed helped Enlin deal with the 1,000-eyed demonic dragon, and he would always remember their kindness. There's no need to thank us, Mr. Enlin. We didn't help much anyway." Ling Ying waved her hands, and a few dozen semi-transparent white tentacles waved in the air. Hong Do was a little embarrassed by her words of gratitude, and he harumphed lightly before turning his head in another direction. After a series of introductions, Ling Ying slowly flew toward the center of the white lake. "Don't be disappointed. I can sense that the bottom of this white lake is quite extraordinary." Ling Ying was a jellyfish, so she was extremely sensitive to anything related to water. Thus, she was able to detect that something was amiss. The eyes of Enlin, Lu Chu, and the others all lit up as they followed Ling Ying toward the center of the white lake. "Come with me. This might be a mystic realm. That demonic dragon just then is most likely the guardian beast of this mystic realm." Ling Ying led the way into the lake. For some reason, Enlin thought of Jiang Anlin, who was the guardian of the White Cloud Lake ruins. Jiang Anlin was also a dragon, and he was responsible for guarding the ruins of the Purple Star Research Institute. Did this mean that the 1,000-eyed demonic dragon was similar to Jiang Anlin? Was what they had done the same as killing Jiang Anlin and entering the ruins? Could there be tributes like the Rainbow Bull that could make the 1,000-eyed demonic dragon voluntarily help them enter the mystic realm? Just as Enlin's thoughts were running wild, Ling Ying had already arrived at the bottom of the lake. The bottom of the lake was extremely dark, but one could still see the massive crater left behind by the large explosion formation. Ling Ying's tentacles danced through the air, and an extremely dazzling light burst forth as a series of strange symbols were carved onto them. The symbols flashed, and the power they generated spread outward. In a certain direction in the water, a massive vortex suddenly formed due to the guidance of the power. This vortex seemed to be able to suck in all things, and it was pitch black and profound. "This is the passageway to the mystic realm. Come with me." Ling Ying waved her tentacles and swam toward the vortex excitedly, and Lin and the others could also sense some kind of special space within the vortex. Thus, they didn't hesitate any longer and followed Ling Ying into the massive vortex. Chapter 500. Two black figures hovered atop a certain mountain in the White Lake realm. They had crimson eyes and sharp black horns on their heads. Their auras were vast and powerful, and they were the true demons of the demonic realm. "Zhong Lixing, what do you think? Should we chase after them?" A female true demon with an extremely voluptuous figure asked in a low voice. She was wearing a black muslin dress that revealed her snowy white back. The muscular male true demon nodded with a serious expression. "Even the guardian beasts of this mystic realm are so powerful, so the mystic realm at the bottom of the lake must be extraordinary. There must be a great opportunity there. We can't miss out on this opportunity. But it's just the two of us." There was a hesitant expression on the female true demon's face. The battle just then had been earth-shattering, and they had come here after hearing the commotion before hiding here. It was exactly because of this that they were able to witness just how powerful those people were. Even though she and Zhong Lixing were both powerful beings at the soul formation pinnacle stage, they might not necessarily be able to defeat those people. A faint smile appeared on Zhong Lixing's face. "Kongo, who says we're going to fight them head-on? Our target is the treasures within the mystic realm. The mystic realm at the bottom of the lake must be quite large, and we'll make a run for it. In any case, we have that thing. Even if we encounter them, we can still run if we can't defeat them." Kongo nodded slightly upon hearing this. Opportunities were obtained through hard work. As long as their lives weren't in great danger, it would be unjustifiable if they didn't fight for this opportunity. Thus, the two true demons transformed into a cloud of black mist before rushing toward the center of the lake, and Lin passed through the vortex at the bottom of the lake, and the space around him began to warp violently. Immediately afterward, a faint white light appeared before his eyes. He looked toward this mystic realm to find that it was a massive stone chamber that was over 100 feet wide. There were 4 football-sized luminous pearls embedded into the walls, all of which exuded an extremely gentle light, illuminating the entire chamber. Lu Chu immediately pulled out a sharp, long sword from her storage ring and began to dig out the night-luminescent luminous pearl. "These beautiful luminous pearls are all mine. Don't you dare fight with a girl like me," she warned everyone as she dug out the pearls. Everyone stared at Lu Chu with speechless expressions. Was she insane for trying to steal the mystic realm's lanterns? And Lin sighed. Such a large luminous pearl was indeed rare, but it was even rarer for someone to not even let go of the illumination pearl the moment they entered the secret territory. In any case, the arcane realms still needed face. "Aren't you worried that the arcane realm will secretly increase the difficulty for us if you don't give any face to it?" And Lin couldn't be blamed for overthinking things. After all, he had explored the Purple Star ruins and the tomb of celestial immortal Shouyang, so he knew how important it was to give the ruins some face in any case. Lu Chu dug out the 4 luminous pearls from the stone chamber and placed them into her storage ring with elation. Then, the stone chamber began to turn pitch black. With a resigned expression, Hong Do made the crimson flames in front of his chest burn brighter to illuminate his surroundings. "Done. Let's keep going." An adorable smile appeared on Lu Chu's delicate features as she spoke to everyone with a wide grin. There was a passageway within the stone chamber, and it seemed to lead to another world. This passageway was very long and wide, and everyone walked at a moderate pace in case something unforeseen happened. After walking for a while, they saw the end of the passageway, where there was a film of light with rippling blue ripples. At the very top of the film of light was an inky black stone slab, upon which a few large words had been engraved. What does it say? Lu Choo Choo was a little confused as she looked at the words on the stone slab. These words were extremely unfamiliar and gave off a sense of antiquity. Continent Dragon Valley Sanctuary. And Lynn and Tina spoke at the same time. The two of them looked at each other, and they could see the astonishment in each other's eyes. It's engraved in the ancient man language, and Lynn explained. Lu Choo Choo, Hong Do, and Linging came to a sudden realization, but their expressions became a little peculiar. So what you're saying is that this terrifying creature isn't guarding a treasure vault, but a sanctuary instead? Hong Do asked in disbelief. Could it be that there are still normal living beings on this collapsed continent? Linging was a little surprised. Of course there are. I'm a normal living being. Tina waved her little fists through the air with an angry expression. What? You're a living being from the ancient Tai Chu realm. Hong Do was given a huge fright. Ling Ying's feelers also began to tremble with excitement. I always thought you were from the Tai Chu continent, but you're a fairy from the ancient Tai Chu realm? Which place are you from? I'm not telling you. Tina felt like she was being discriminated against, and she pursed her lips as she hid behind Lynn's ear. All right, let's not talk about this for now. Let's go in and have a look, Lynn suggested. This sanctuary was quite easy to understand. When a world was no longer suitable for living beings to live in, some mighty figures would often open up a new space for those living beings to live in. Now that the ancient Tai Chu realm was collapsing, it meant that there was a very good chance that they would encounter native beings from the ancient Tai Chu realm in the Dragon Valley Sanctuary. Once they thought of this, everyone's heart involuntarily tensed up. If there really were native beings in there, then they would be aliens from this world. Perhaps it would be even more perilous for them in there. Hong Do, you look like you're the sturdier one, so you go in first, Lynn suggested. Flames of indignation flared up in Hong Do's chest. Don't even think about screwing me over. And Lynn, you're the most powerful one here, so you should go in first. Hee, I didn't think you would have some self-awareness after all. You know that you're no match for me. And Lynn chuckled. Humph, don't try to goad me into a trap. I won't fall for it. So what if I admit that I'm a little weaker than you? Hong Do harumphed coldly. Tina couldn't bear to watch any longer, and she yelled, Only a little? Don't you have any shame? You're clearly a lot weaker than me. Not only are you weak, but you're also a coward. What a waste of your big body. You don't even dare to admit that you're sturdy. Tina's Tai Chu language was becoming more and more fluent, and her words were even more penetrating. Hong Do was starting to doubt his own life. Hong Do was completely dumbstruck. In particular, he was being scorned by a tiny female fairy. The damage he was receiving was multiplied, and it was a critical strike that left him a little confused. Could it be that he really was a good-for-nothing? He thought back to his battle with the thousand-eyed demonic dragon, where he was screwed over and had to be saved by Lynn in the end. Now he was standing at the entrance of the mystic realm, but he didn't dare to go in first. Could it be that he was only here to be a bystander? No. I, Hong Do, have never been weaker than anyone. After experiencing an intense clash of ideologies, Hong Do was finally enlightened, and the flames in his chest began to burn. Humph. Cowards, I'm going to show you what a true warrior looks like. Follow me. Hong Do gritted his teeth and led the way through the blue barrier of light. Just look up at my back and see how sturdy and reliable my back is. Hong Do was walking like a true warrior, and everyone else in the passageway was struck by a sense of awe and veneration. Nicely done. And Lynn transmitted his voice in praise. I'm just taking a leak, Tina replied with a smug expression. A minute later, Linging sensed her aura seal. Hongdo is still alive, so there shouldn't be any danger in there. We can go in now. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief upon hearing this before stepping through the gate leading to the mystic realm. Chapter 501. And Lin, Lu Chu Chu, Tina, and Linging stepped into the blue light barrier and arrived in a world with a faint yellow glow hovering in the sky. Then, they were stunned by the sight before them, and Lin sucked in a breath of cold air. Holy F *CK! His eyes widened. Lu Chu Chu's mouth gaped open slightly. Holy *T! Linging was so shocked that her white tentacles froze in midair. Her blue eyes widened in shock. Tina covered her mouth in shock. So many Holy Spirit pagodas. As expected, the legends about Pango leaving behind the Holy Spirit pagodas are all lies. These are called realm essence crystals. Please don't call them Holy Spirit pagodas anymore. It sounds so weird. And Lin rolled his eyes. That's right. What appeared before them was a ground littered with realm essence crystals. On the white ground several hundred meters away, many realm essence crystals grew like plants. They fanned out around a black stone pillar that was over 1,000 feet tall. At a glance, there were at least 300 white realm essence crystals, dozens of green realm essence crystals, and over 20 blue realm essence crystals. There were also 9 red realm essence crystals, which were as dazzling as flowers. In addition, there were 3 golden realm essence crystals. They were located at the edge of the black stone pillar and exuded an extremely alluring golden light. And Lin's eyes widened when he saw the golden realm essence crystals. He had to obtain these golden realm essence crystals. Look, Hongdo looks a little strange, Linging suddenly said. Hearing this, everyone looked forward. In reality, Hongdo had been in front of them the entire time. However, they were blinded by the sight of so many realm essence crystals, so they automatically overlooked Hongdo's existence. Now, Hongdo was only a dozen or so meters away from them. His back was facing them, and he was in a running posture. It seemed like he was sprinting toward the realm essence crystals excitedly. However, Hongdo's sprinting was extremely slow in their eyes. It was as if his movement had been slowed down 1,000 times, and Lin grimaced. "Mr. Hongdo, what are you doing?" he yelled. Hongdo's sturdy stone body trembled slightly. Then he turned his head with great difficulty. "This mystic realm has a problem." Hongdo was spouting nonsense and wasted a minute of everyone's time. And Lin, Lu Chu Chu, and the others surveyed their surroundings. Finally, their gazes fell upon the faint golden line that was 1 meter in front of them. The golden line seemed to be a boundary that separated 2 different worlds. And Lin stretched his hand over the line, and he was instantly struck by a sense of slowness. This feeling was very strange. His thoughts did not slow down, but other than that, all his other senses, including the movement of his body, would involuntarily slow down. It was not because he was being suppressed by his power, but because his body was instinctively slowing down. It was as if his body was born to move like this. What a peculiar feeling. This is most likely some kind of power of laws of heaven and earth. Our powers are unable to change this place. Lu Chu Chu also sensed the space within the golden line with a hint of surprise in her eyes. Even though this mystic realm is strange, it doesn't seem to pose much of a threat to us. Furthermore, there aren't any threats from the beings of the ancient Taichu realm, Linging said. Just like that, everyone looked at each other again and made the same decision. Go in. The temptation of so many realm essence crystals was too great. They couldn't just give them all to Hongdo. 1 step forward, and all of them followed suit. Everyone passed through the golden line without any hesitation and charged forward as fast as they could. And Lin used his wings of wind and wind sword combination right from the start in hopes of using inertia to overtake Hongdo, who was a dozen meters ahead of them. However, he was still too naive. Once his body passed through the golden line, everything slowed down to the point where he forgot how to fly. Plop! He glided through the dirt, creating a trench that was 3 to 4 meters in length. Lu Chu Chu! Tina grabbed onto Lin's hair and also forgot how to fly. Her wings flapped irregularly, and the circulation of her power was also all over the place. It was as if everything had been messed up. This feeling was extremely vexing, especially Linging. As a jellyfish that often floated in the air, she was now reduced to crawling on the ground with her tentacles. One had to realize she had never walked on the ground like this before. Because of this, although she was the one with the most legs among Lin and the others, she was still the last one in the mystic realm. Little, nah, help me snatch the gold, and Lin tried his best to command. At this moment, Tina had already jumped off his shoulder and was rushing toward the golden realm essence crystals. Although he was several meters ahead of everyone else, it took an insane amount of time for him to crawl back up. In the end, he was overtaken by Lu Chu Chu. Hong, Do, wait for me, and Lin ran with all his might as he spoke excitedly. Hong Do didn't even turn his head as he chuckled coldly. Ha! Ha! This was a very strange feeling. Everyone felt as if they had returned to their ignorant and carefree childhood. Everything was so natural and comfortable as they ran in this space without a care in the world. They had abandoned all restraints and had even forgotten how to use immortal spells and how to circulate vital energy. Ha ha! I'm a happy little fairy. Tina cheered excitedly as she ran. I actually like the feeling of running. Lu Chu Chu's eyes narrowed slightly as a look of enjoyment appeared on her delicate face. Before they knew it, 10 minutes had passed, and Lin was still running with all his might, but he was unable to close the gap between him and Hongdo. If this continued, his realm essence crystals would be in great danger. Tina was in second place, and she was only a dozen or so meters behind Hongdo. Although each of her steps was very small, she was much faster than the average person. All in all, she was slightly faster than Hongdo. However, she couldn't guarantee that she would overtake Hongdo before he reached the golden realm essence crystals. Lu Chu Chu was in third place, and she was only 5 meters behind Tina, and Lin was in fourth place, and he was about 6 to 7 meters behind Lu Chu Chu. Linging was in fifth place, and she was about 10 meters behind Lin. In any case, Linging was in despair. All she wanted to do was dig out some white realm essence crystals. Right at this moment, the blue barrier of light rippled, and 2 unfamiliar figures appeared in this world. A beautiful woman with a pair of horns on her head and crimson eyes stared at the scene before her in astonishment. My God! Zhong Lixing, am I dreaming? So many realm essence crystals. Kongge, don't get too excited. We can't be careless in this place. Have you noticed those people in front of you? There's something strange about this mystic realm. A dangerous glint flickered in Zhong Lixing's eyes. His reaction was extremely quick. He raised a palm high above his head, and vital energy surged. In an instant, a black ball containing a terrifying amount of energy materialized. Then he ferociously smashed it toward Lin and the others. That's right. If you're capable, then don't waste your breath. Zhong Lixing knew that Lin and the others had fallen into a strange state. Thus, he didn't hesitate and seized the opportunity to strike first. This was what a powerful true demon should do. However, something unexpected happened. When the black sphere crossed a certain boundary, the energy actually collapsed on its own and completely dissipated. Are we still going in? Kongge was a little dazed upon seeing this. Zhong Lixing gazed at the densely packed realm essence crystals several hundred meters in front of them. He pondered for a moment, then gritted his teeth and said, Of course, we're going in. Why shouldn't we? This should be a slow-moving mystic realm that can nullify spell techniques. We actually have another advantage, and that is our ability to predict mystic realms. We can first accelerate outside, then use the inertia of our movement to overtake them. Kongji's eyes lit up. That's a good idea. Just like that, the 2 of them began to accelerate wildly outside the mystic realm. Then, They flew into the mystic realm's golden streak. Everything was extremely miraculous. The two true demons felt as if their surroundings had slowed down, so much so that they had forgotten how to fly. Plop! The two true demons glided through the air, creating a 3 to 4 meter long trench in the ground. Chapter 502. Ling Ying, who was running at the very back of the group, was the first to notice something amiss. She hurriedly said, "Be careful, there are two true demons behind us." Hearing this, everyone turned to look behind them. Then they saw the two true demons gliding through the air and eating dirt. Seeing this familiar scene, everyone was speechless. They even wanted to look up at the sky, and Lin grimaced. Were these two true demons paying their respects to him? However, they quickly turned their gazes to the front again and continued running. That's right, true demons were nothing here. It didn't matter if you were a true demon or a fake demon. Running as fast as you could was the most important thing. Only by running fast could you obtain realm essence crystals. The two true demons lying on the ground were also dumbfounded. After being stared at by their enemies, the enemies didn't say a word. They all turned around and continued running as if nothing had happened. "We have been underestimated," Konga said slowly. "Don't worry, we'll catch up to them soon. The physical strength of us true demons is extraordinary." Zhong Lixing was very confident, and his body exuded a boundless desire to fight. Just like that, the two of them spent a few minutes crawling up from the ground. The distance between them increased to 12 meters. Zhong Lixing wasn't willing to give up. He unleashed his full strength and started running. However, a feeling of extreme slowness engulfed their bodies. It was as if slowness was the meaning of this place. They had abandoned all burdens and slowed everything down. Zhong Lixing and Kong Ji's powerful physical strength didn't seem to be reflected in this place. The distance between them and Enlin didn't seem to decrease at all. However, the only consolation was that the distance between them and the jellyfish was shrinking. Finally, after an hour, they were ready to overtake the jellyfish. "Haha, your speed is only SOSO." Zhong Lixing seemed to have found an outlet to vent. He had successfully regained some of his lost ground. However, just as they were about to brush past the jellyfish's tentacles suddenly wrapped around Zhong Lixing and Kong Ji's bodies like tentacles. Although it sounded like it was suddenly wrapped around them, it was actually very slow. It was just that they couldn't dodge it with the speed of a true demon. Kong Gu screamed in fear. "Zhong Lixing, what, you still want to fight with us here?" Zhong Lixing had a look of shock and confusion on his face. He didn't expect that the jellyfish would choose to sacrifice its own interests and use the method of fighting to slow them down so that the people in front of it would benefit. "Please bring me along. I really can't catch up with the people in front of me," Ling Ying pleaded. "I don't know how to walk, and these tentacles can't extend. You guys just happened to run past me, so I can only hug you guys tightly. Just take it as me hitching a ride." Ling Ying continued. "Zhong Lixing, then don't strangle me here. Change to another position." Kong Ji's chest was like a raging sea, and the tentacles were extremely close to that area, which made her face burn. "Oh!" Ling Ying obediently shifted her tentacles, wrapping them around Kong Ji's slender, snake-like waist. She was extremely cooperative. Zhong Lixing forcefully pulled at the tentacles wrapped around his waist. However, he discovered that the tentacles were extremely tough. Furthermore, they were very strong. He couldn't tear them apart at all. Even his sharp claws couldn't cause any damage to them. This damned mystic realm. If only it didn't have this power of law. Zhong Lixing fell silent. He ignored Ling Ying's entanglement and continued to run forward. His goal was the realm essence crystals. He would settle this score later. Just like that, the two true demons became the ones pulling Ling Ying's carriage as they ran forward. Ling Ying was extremely touched. She felt like she was about to throw up from walking with her tentacles. This feeling was still the best. It felt like she was flying with someone pulling her along. Hong Do, who was running at the very front, was already less than 200 meters away from the realm essence crystals. He had never felt such a sense of accomplishment before. Regardless of whether it was the calm and powerful senior brother Lingying, the freakishly powerful Enlin, or the extremely powerful true demons, they were all left behind by him. At this moment, they all had to look at Grandpa Do's back as he ran. This was a scene that everyone yearned for. It was as if he was a guide who led everyone forward. He was the most dazzling existence in this group of people. Hong Do became more and more excited as he ran. The red flames on his chest burned brighter and brighter, and he almost burst out laughing. However, right at this moment, the ground suddenly started to tremble without any warning. Everyone's heart trembled. The tremors didn't slow down. Rather, they were really shaking at an extremely fast speed. The terrifying tremors almost caused everyone who was running at a very slow speed to lose their footing. The white earth started to bulge and crack. An ominous feeling welled up in everyone's heart. Would they still have the ability to resist if something strange happened at this time? 100 meters away from the densely packed realm essence crystals, smoke and dust exploded into the air. Immediately afterward, several skeletal monsters appeared. There were humans and beasts, and there were at least 100 of them. Those who invade my sanctuary shall die. When they saw Hong Do, crimson flames ignited in their empty eye sockets. They roared and pounced toward Hong Do at a terrifying speed. That's right. Although their speed was only slightly faster than a normal human's, it was a terrifying speed to Hong Do. This strange mystic realm power was completely ineffective against these skeletal monsters. Hong Do almost pissed himself in fear at this ferocious wave of monsters. His eyes were filled with terror and regret. Why did he run at the very front? Why did he have to be the first one to be shot? These skeletal monsters pounced toward Hong Do and started to pummel him with their fists. Hong Do wanted to use his fists to send these skeletal monsters flying. However, his fists were only 5 centimeters per second, so he really couldn't even touch their bones. Soon, Hong Do was pounced onto the ground by a large group of skeletal monsters, who attacked him in a frenzy. The only fortunate thing was that these skeletal monsters weren't very powerful. At most, they were at the intermediate stage of the Tao body stage. Although Hong Do couldn't circulate his vital energy or use his physical strength, just his rock body alone was enough to withstand the attacks of the skeletal monsters. He wouldn't be injured because of this. However, the important thing now wasn't whether he would be injured or not. He was currently being pounded onto the ground by a group of soldiers. This was a form of humiliation. F***CK off. Hong Do roared in rage and attacked the skeletal monsters with all his might. However, it was completely useless. They all dodged his attacks. Half of the hundreds of skeletal monsters directly passed by Hong Do and pounced toward Enlin and the others. Thus, Enlin, Lu Chu, Lingying, Zhong Lixing, and Congo were also trampled upon by the skeletal monsters. They were all powerful cultivators of the soul formation stage and were revered existences on the continent. Now, however, they were being bullied by a group of weak skeletal monsters. An unprecedented sense of humiliation welled up in their hearts. Detestable, detestable, they're going too far. Zhong Lixing had a look of indignation on his face. A huge skeletal wolf pounced on him and started gnawing on the pair of sharp horns on his head. Don't do this. A bone python coiled around Lu Chu's slender body. Her heel slipped and she fell to the ground. Her eyes were fixed on the nearby realm essence crystals, and there was a strong look of indignation on her delicate face. And Lin was sent flying by a large skeletal elephant. Then he was punched and kicked by a group of skeletal monsters. Kong-gu was surrounded by skeletal birds, and she was continuously battered by them. Finally, she collapsed to the ground. Ling-ing let out a series of strange cries as her tentacles were being torn apart by a group of skeletal dogs. Soon, Lu Chuchu's indignation froze on her face. It was as if she had seen something inconceivable. There was a figure that had been neglected and was currently rushing toward the realm essence crystals. She was so insignificant, however, in Lu Chuchu's eyes. She was a ray of light that had been neglected. She was a ray of light that was heading toward victory. The adorable little fairy, Tina, was currently sprinting toward the finish line. Her white dress fluttered in the wind. She was less than 2 centimeters tall. Perhaps it was precisely because she was too small that she had been neglected by all the skeletal monsters. She had already surpassed Hongdo's position and became the first person. Chapter 503. Lu Chuchu was the first to discover Tina's figure. However, she remained silent in order to avoid being discovered by the other skeletons. And Lin, who was being pummeled by a horde of skeletons, also discovered Tina's sprinting figure after a short while. She was so tiny, yet so dazzling. He was caught off guard, and he was caught off guard by a wave of happiness. And Lin's body trembled, and he was so touched that he was about to burst into tears. He gave Tina 10,000 thumbs up in his heart. Go, Tina! Reclaim the glory that belongs to us. Collect all of the realm essence crystals. When that time comes, Tina's things will also be his things. And Lin chuckled with contentment as he looked at the skeleton's fists raining down on his face. In that instant, even the skeleton's fists were so gentle. Tina rushed to the area where the realm essence crystals were densely packed. She was momentarily dazed as she stared at the dazzling array of realm essence crystals. However, she quickly composed herself and sprinted toward the golden realm essence crystals. She hadn't forgotten what Lin had told her. She had to collect the 3 golden realm essence crystals first. After a long period of sprinting, she finally arrived in front of the 3 golden realm essence crystals. A victorious smile appeared on her face as she looked at the towering realm essence crystals. Giant and Lin, I did it. These 3 Holy Spirit towers are ours. She pulled out her own spatial bag and was about to place the golden realm essence crystals into the spatial treasure. However, in the next second, Tina fell into a long silence as she stared at the towering realm essence crystals. She discovered a very cruel truth. She couldn't circulate her vital energy or use the power in her body. She couldn't move such a large realm essence crystal. Tina stared at the golden realm essence crystals, which were many times larger than her, in a daze. She didn't know what to do. After a moment of hesitation, she walked over and hugged the realm essence crystal tightly in an attempt to lift it. She then discovered that her strength was far too weak. She really couldn't lift such a large realm essence crystal, and Lin also discovered this problem, and his mood instantly plummeted. He stared blankly at the helpless Tina as a sense of grief and despair welled up in his heart. At this moment, even the skeleton monster's soft fists were in so much pain. Tina didn't give up, and she slowly climbed up the realm essence crystals. She discovered that the surface of the realm essence crystals was a little sticky, and she could use this to her advantage. After climbing to the top of the realm essence crystals, she opened her spatial bag and slipped it onto the tip of the realm essence crystals. Hua! The spatial bag was like a bottomless pit, and it continued to devour realm essence crystals. Soon, a golden realm essence crystal was successfully devoured. Hiss! And Lin had been paying close attention to Tina's every move, and he almost cheered out loud when he saw this scene. However, he managed to hold himself back in the end, and a blissful smile appeared on his face. The skeleton monster's fists became gentle again as it pounded its own body. It was Tina's resourcefulness and determination to never give up that moved him, and he couldn't stop cheering in his heart. After another 10 minutes or so, the 3 golden realm essence crystals had completely fallen into Tina's spatial bag. Now, it was time for Tina to do whatever she wanted. In any case, it was the principle of proximity. Starting from the area around the golden realm essence crystals, she slowly spread out in all directions, plundering everything in her path. With great difficulty, Hongdo propped his gigantic body up into a sitting position. Then, under the relentless barrage of attacks, he slowly stood up like a towering, unshakable mountain. That's right, he had already learned how to maintain his balance in the face of such ferocious attacks. At this moment, his heart was filled with pride. His eyes blazed like torches as he gazed at the realm essence crystals in the distance. Ha ha ha! How can mere skeleton soldiers make me, Hongdo, submit? All the realm essence crystals are mine. However, when his gaze fell upon the densely packed realm essence crystals, his smile gradually disappeared. How could this be? Where are my golden realm essence crystals? How could they disappear? What the hell? Hongdo stared ahead with an incredulous expression. He blinked violently, wondering if he was hallucinating from the skeleton monster's attacks. Right at this moment, another red realm essence crystal began to disappear. In terms of value, red realm essence crystals were second only to golden realm essence crystals. They were like a single red dot in a sea of greenery. Naturally, the disappearance of the red realm essence crystals didn't escape Hongdo's eyes. Then he discovered the figure that he had automatically ignored. When Hongdo saw that figure, he sucked in a breath of cold air. It's you. It's actually you. So, someone had already surpassed him and become the team's number one. He had become the team's biggest winner. He was still too naive. He had used all his might to stand up, but he didn't expect to see such a heart-wrenching reality. At this moment, the flames in Hongdo's chest seemed to have dimmed slightly. That's right, this was a race. As long as one worked hard, they would have a chance to overcome difficulties. As long as one worked hard, they would have a chance to surpass everyone else. But for some people, difficulties didn't target them at all. How could they compete? When the two true demons heard Hongdo's yell, they also turned their gazes toward the realm essence crystals in front of them. Then they turned pale with fright and started to panic. Who would have thought that a fairy would beat us to it? Zhong Lixing crawled to his feet with great difficulty. Before a smile could appear on his face, his expression darkened. All the golden realm essence crystals are gone. An indignant expression appeared on Kong Ji's face. That's all right. We can still snatch some other types of realm essence crystals. Zhong Lixing had an indignant expression on his face. He withstood the attacks of countless skeletons. Just as he was about to advance with great difficulty, he suddenly felt something tighten around his waist. It was as if something was strangling him. Zhong Lixing lowered his head and discovered that a white, transparent, yet extremely tough tentacle was currently wrapped around his waist. Zhong Lixing, why aren't you letting go? At this moment, Ling Ying was being bitten by a pack of skeletons. With great difficulty, she said, I run slowly, bring me along. Zhong Lixing gritted his teeth and slowly advanced forward. However, he discovered that the resistance behind him was extraordinarily strong. Not only did he have to drag Ling Ying, but he also had to drag a pack of skeletons that were biting onto Ling Ying's tentacle. I want to curse someone. Zhong Lixing couldn't take it anymore. If this continued, how could he snatch any realm essence crystals? Ling Ying waved her tentacle. Curse me all you want. I'm a jellyfish anyway. You're not a human. Kong Gu retorted angrily. Zhong Lixing, Ling Ying. Kong Gu was momentarily dazed. She glared at Ling Ying fiercely and corrected herself. You're not a jellyfish. Was she cursing someone? She wasn't cursing someone, was she? She wasn't cursing a jellyfish, was she? Zhong Lixing felt that Kong Gu had probably gone mad from anger. For someone like him, he couldn't be bothered to curse her. Once they got out of here, he would find an opportunity to tear this jellyfish apart. Just like that, the two true demons endured the attacks of countless skeletons as they dragged the jellyfish behind them forward at an extremely slow pace. This arduous method of advancing had once caused them to feel despair, and they wanted to give up, and Lin and Lu Chu Chu also struggled to stand up. They relied on their powerful soul formation stage bodies to deal with the attacks of the skeletons. They maintained their balance as they slowly advanced forward. At this moment, Tina had already stored all of the golden and red realm essence crystals into her spatial bag. Hongdo roared as he continued forward. His indignation transformed into a soaring fighting spirit. His chest actually began to burn up. Chapter 504. Ha ha ha. I can feel the power. As expected, I'm special. I'm the one who's been chosen. Hongdo laughed heartily. Scorching flames suddenly rose from his chest, and a power that he hadn't felt in a long time started to spread throughout his body. Although it was still very weak, it was still much stronger than before. F***CK off. He punched a skeletal tiger in front of him. Although his speed was very slow, the tiger was unable to dodge in time and was struck squarely in the face. Boom! After a loud explosion, the skeletal tiger's skull cracked open, and its body was also sent flying by the punch. The sound of bones breaking was so pleasing to the ear, and it made one feel elated. It was that unyielding will that allowed him to recover a sliver of his strength. At this moment he was unique. Hongdo felt like he was invincible, and he was in high spirits as he surveyed his surroundings with a haughty expression. It was as if he was saying, "Look at me. Do you see my fist? Do you see my stalwart back?" Finally, he focused his gaze in front of him. However, he was given a fright when he saw what he saw. He saw a tiny fairy flapping her wings and flying into the air. She held a spatial bag in her hand and threw it at the realm essence crystals, one after another. Hongdo was stupefied, and an extremely sorrowful thought welled up in his mind. He turned around and discovered that Enlin could already release faint flames to repel the skeletons in front of him, and Lu Chu had already swatted away the skeletal python with her bow. So, everyone is the same. No, we're not the same. Hongdo suddenly came to a realization. He still had the advantage of distance. Apart from Tina, he was the closest being to the realm essence crystals. With this in mind, his gaze fell upon the 20 or so blue realm essence crystals. He had no choice. The gold and red realm essence crystals had all been taken by Tina, so only the blue realm essence crystals were valuable. Hongdo roared angrily and sprinted toward the realm essence crystals. With his weak strength, he didn't need to worry too much about the skeleton's attacks. All he needed to do was maintain his balance and keep running. And Lin also started running. Right now, he could already circulate a minuscule amount of vital energy. As he watched Tina collect realm essence crystals after realm essence crystals, he began to have an inkling as to why she was able to regain her strength. This change had actually started after Tina collected the realm essence crystals. In other words, it was very likely that the realm essence crystals in this space had dwindled, thereby triggering this change. Realm essence crystals had the ability to make space viscous. Then, when there was a certain amount of realm essence crystals and they circulated in a certain pattern, could it be that this was the cause of the power of law? And Lin could feel that his power was slowly recovering. Even though this process was very slow, it was indeed a constant recovery, and all of this was slowly confirming his suspicions. Hongdo finally arrived at an area filled with realm essence crystals. He excitedly plucked the realm essence crystals in front of him. White, green, blue, nothing was spared. Lu Chu followed along behind Hongdo, and she didn't back down either as she continued to scavenge in another direction. And Lin thought about it for a moment before starting from Hongdo's left side. Just like that, they split into 3 groups and plundered the black stone pillar along the way. Zhong Lixing and Kong Ji's eyes widened at the sight of the people plundering the realm essence crystals. F***CK off. Zhong Lixing sensed that his strength had recovered. He immediately retrieved a large saber from his storage ring and slashed at the tentacles around his waist. Ling Ying retracted her tentacles in fright. Then she soared into the air. That's right, she could finally fly. The feeling of floating, which she hadn't felt in a long time, made her extremely moved. She couldn't be bothered with these two true demons anymore as she directly flew toward the realm essence crystals. Zhong Lixing and Konggu looked at each other. They knew that this wasn't the time to fight. Plundering the realm essence crystals was the most important thing now. Thus, they also sprinted forward. At this moment, the advantage of the true demons' physical bodies finally came into play. Normal skeletons were completely unable to stop them and were directly sent flying by their powerful bodies. When Lin saw that there were people rushing over from behind him, he knew that he couldn't plunder all the realm essence crystals in this path. Thus, he started to selectively plunder the green and blue realm essence crystals first. Then he would turn around and plunder the white realm essence crystals. Konggu, be careful. Don't get ambushed by them. Zhong Lixing slashed several skeletons in front of him into pieces at the same time. Then he dashed into the group of realm essence crystals. All right. Konggu nodded. At the same time, she reached out to grab the white realm essence crystal in front of her. However, right at this moment, a tentacle shot out like lightning, plucked the white realm essence crystal, and fled. You've gone too far. Kong Ji's crimson eyes burned with fury as she glared at Ling Ying, who was in the sky. Ling Ying couldn't be bothered with them. She continued to plunder the realm essence crystals around her. It felt great to have more tentacles at a time like this. Plundering a small area of realm essence crystals at the same time wasn't something an ordinary person could experience. At the moment, Konggu still couldn't use any spell techniques. Thus, she could only swallow her dissatisfaction and clench her teeth as she continued to plunder the realm essence crystals on the other side. After a short while, Tina met up with Hongdo, Lu Chuchu, and Enlin. She started plundering from the innermost area, and her harvest was the greatest. She had already plucked all the realm essence crystals in the back, and she was very full from the meat. Enlin, Hongdo, and Lu Chuchu followed her to drink the soup. They all chose to plunder the more valuable realm essence crystals first, and they all obtained quite a few green and blue realm essence crystals. In other words, all that was left were white realm essence crystals. Their eyes burned with desire. Even white realm essence crystals were still money. They couldn't let this go. Thus, the four of them started plundering from the innermost area. Finally, the two true demons saw Lin and the others turning back to plunder the realm essence crystals toward them. They instantly felt immense pressure. The two of them had only collected close to 100 white realm essence crystals. They were truly unwilling to leave just like that. 100 black snakes. Zhong Lixing opened his hand, but only 6 black snakes shot out. Using a spell technique was finally somewhat effective. The 6 black snakes coiled around the 6 realm essence crystals. Then they lifted their heads and quickly flew back toward Zhong Lixing. However, right at this moment, 6 bolts of blue lightning suddenly shot out from the void. With a deafening boom, the 6 black snakes were blasted into black mist, which completely dissipated into the air. Konggu humphed coldly. She made a grabbing motion toward the 6 realm essence crystals in the air. A violent gust of wind swept through the air, and the realm essence crystals continued to fly toward them. However, right at this moment, a translucent tentacle tore through the air and swept away the 6 realm essence crystals. It's you again. Konggu couldn't take it anymore. A crescent scythe appeared in front of her, and she charged toward Ling Ying with a murderous intent. I'm going to cut off all your tentacles today. Lu Chuchu drew her bow to the fullest extent and aimed it at Zhong Lixing. There was an indescribable excitement on her face. Leave behind your storage ring and scram, or leave behind your head. That's right. She was finally going to resume her old occupation. She was extremely excited, and Lin saw a rather incongruous scene. He immediately raised his leg and kicked toward the rock golem, who was still plucking the white realm essence crystals. Boom! Hongdo was caught off guard and was sent flying by the kick. Are you crazy? Why did you hit me? Hong Do flared up in rage. Ha! We're defending against a foreign enemy. You're secretly plucking the realm essence crystals, and you still have the nerve to speak? And Lin chuckled coldly. Hong Do's face flushed red. Nonsense, he retorted in a low voice. I'm clearly plucking them out in the open. How can you call it secretly plucking? I'm just afraid that the true demon will snatch the realm essence crystals, so I'm keeping them safe. In any case, Hong Do finally focused his attention on the true demon and stopped plucking the realm essence crystals. Chapter 505. Zhong Lixing looked at the two powerful cultivators who had joined forces, and he began to think about retreating. Kong, good, don't be rash. Let's retreat, he suddenly said. Then he waved his hand, and a thick black mist gushed out, obscuring the entire space. Not only could this black mist block vision, but it could also block divine sense. Ling Ying's reaction was also extremely fast. In the instant the black fog appeared, the tentacles below it crazily extended and exploded with a bright white lightning glow. It enveloped the area within a radius of 1,000 feet, forming a lightning cage. Ha! You want to block my eyes with this level of black mist? The corners of Lu Chuchu's lips curled up slightly, and an extremely sharp golden light flashed through her yellow eyes, which seemed to be imbued with the power to see through all lies and falsehoods. A pink energy arrow materialized on the bowstring, and a small crimson arrow appeared in the center of the energy arrow. The two arrows combined into one, and the tip of the arrow shone with an intimidating red light. Divine technique, bloodline tracking, demon-slaying arrow. Lu Chuchu yelled, and the arrow left the bowstring. The pink arrow shone with a red light, and it tore through the air at a terrifying speed toward Zhong Lixing's head. This was an arrow that could tear through space and track its target. Lu Chuchu had used this arrow to instantly kill a powerful ancient seahorse demon. And Lin also attacked. He launched a mountain-quaking lightning fist in the direction of the exit. He couldn't see where the two true demons were, but there was only one exit. Thus, he was sure to attack the exit. Tina also launched a full-power holy light attack in the direction of Lin's attack. She didn't know where the two true demons were, but she just had to attack in the direction of Lin's attack. If she followed Lin, she would have meat to eat. However, Hong Do was completely dumbfounded by this situation. He stared blankly at the people who were attacking one after another, and he suddenly felt extremely disappointed. Why did everyone know where the enemies were? Why couldn't he sense anything? So, there was actually such a huge gap between them. Was it because his power was too weak, so his vision and divine sense were blocked? He couldn't help but fall into a deep state of self-doubt. So, it had always been a useless piece of rock. On the other side, Zhong Lixing and Congo, who were in the midst of fleeing, both felt a sense of impending doom. Zhong Lixing retrieved a palm-sized ancient black cauldron from his storage ring without any hesitation. He activated it with all his might. Rumble! A black, ball-like object instantly enveloped Zhong Lixing and Kong Ji's bodies. The dark, devouring, demonic cauldron. This was a high-grade immortal artifact that could devour all kinds of offensive spell techniques in a short period of time, as well as greatly increase the speed of its target. Zhong Lixing only dared to steal the realm essence crystals in front of Lin and the others because he possessed this special immortal tool. The pink arrow tore through the air and pierced the black sphere with terrifying power. Then, as if it had entered a black hole, it completely dissipated on the surface of the black sphere. Is that even possible? Lu Chuchu's brows furrowed slightly as she stared at the black ball in confusion. The mountain-quaking lightning fist and the holy light attack also bombarded the surface of the black sphere. Then they were like clay oxen entering the sea as they were directly devoured by the black sphere. A breath later, the black sphere that had enveloped Congo and Zhong Lixing broke through Ling Ying's lightning cage. It even devoured Ling Ying's tentacles. Then it passed through the blue spatial barrier and disappeared from this heaven and earth. Ah, it hurts. Ling Ying cried out in alarm as a few of her tentacles were severed. Did we miss something? And Lin was also perplexed. He had unleashed the mountain-quaking lightning fist, but there wasn't even the sound of an explosion. It could be said that it didn't even feel like an impact. This also made him perplexed. They escaped using a very strange black cauldron, which allows them to transform into black balls that can absorb spell techniques. All of our attacks were swallowed by the black balls. Lu Chu heaved a forlorn sigh as she explained. The black mist gradually dissipated. Ling Ying was currently swallowing a pill that could regenerate her severed limbs. She looked sickly as she floated in the air. Meanwhile, Hongdo was half squatting on the ground as he stared blankly ahead. It was as if life had lost all meaning and he had lost all passion for battle. And Lin looked at the remaining 100 or so white realm essence crystals. The true demon has already escaped. Let's split these realm essence crystals evenly. You guys split them, Hongdo said expressionlessly. I feel like I'm just here to waste my time. I don't deserve these realm essence crystals. And Lin, everyone. And Lin was astonished. Hongdo, what's wrong with you? How did you suddenly become enlightened? Do you have such self-awareness? Hongdo's chest constricted. F*CKU. These realm essence crystals are mine. Just like that, and Lin, Lu Chu, Tina, Hongdo, and Ling Ying each received over 20 white realm essence crystals. Jian and Lin, these are the realm essence crystals I received. Take a look. A smug smile appeared on Tina's face. She took out her spatial bag and handed it to Lin. She was both nervous and excited, as if she were a child waiting to be praised by an adult. And Lin took out the realm essence crystals from the spatial bag and drew a sharp intake of breath. Everyone else was also astonished by the sight before them. They were almost blinded by the light. 3 golden realm essence crystals, 9 red realm essence crystals, 5 blue realm essence crystals, 10 green realm essence crystals, and 35 white realm essence crystals. In terms of total value, the realm essence crystals that she had received accounted for more than half of the total value of the realm essence crystals. Hongdo thought that he had received the second most realm essence crystals. However, he fell into deep thought as he looked at the 4 blue realm essence crystals, 12 green realm essence crystals, and 40 white realm essence crystals in his storage ring. Ling Ying was in an even worse state. Although she had many tentacles, she had arrived late and only received 62 white realm essence crystals. And Lin patted Tina's little head with a wide smile on his face. My little Na really is the best. I'll keep these realm essence crystals for you for now. You're still young, so I'll return them to you when you grow up. Everyone almost vomited blood upon hearing this. What the F***CK? Do you mean I'll return them when I grow up? Can I still grow up? This is daylight robbery. Tina was extremely elated as she flew around Lin. All right. Just like that. And Lin happily stowed away all the realm essence crystals in his storage ring. He counted the total number of realm essence crystals in his storage ring, including those he had obtained from killing others and robbing others. There were a total of 152 white realm essence crystals, 30 green realm essence crystals, 11 blue realm essence crystals, 9 red realm essence crystals, and 3 golden realm essence crystals. TSK. He had instantly become a realm essence crystal tycoon. He had already swallowed 4 golden realm essence crystals, so he had 3 golden realm essence crystals in his storage ring. This meant that he would be able to complete his mission and obtain the embryonic body of the war god after obtaining 3 more golden realm essence crystals. I wonder what this body of the war god will look like. It's definitely going to be very powerful. Will it look like a super scion with golden hair and a golden aura enshrouding his entire body? And Lin couldn't help but let his imagination run wild, and a wide smile appeared on his face. Everyone was filled with hatred as they looked at Lin's smug expression. However, there was nothing they could do. They could only glare at him, helplessly, who told him to have a stupid fairy who was still counting the money for him after being sold. The realm essence crystals were divided among everyone and stowed away in their storage rings. Before they knew it, the strange feeling of space slowing down and the inability to circulate vital energy disappeared. Heaven and earth returned to normal. Crack! The sound of something cracking suddenly traveled over. Everyone looked behind them in unison. The black stone pillar that was 1,000 feet tall was starting to crack. Chapter 506. In the center of the White Lake, there was a huge splash as Zhong Lixing and Kongu appeared in the sky. It was already nighttime. There was no moon, and the surroundings were pitch black. Only a few stars decorated the night sky. Zhong Lixing held the ancient black cauldron in his hand. His body swayed slightly as he spat out a large mouthful of blood. "Zhong Lixing, are you all right?" Kongu hurried over and carefully supported him. Zhong Lixing waved his hand and shook his head. "I'm fine. It's just that the dark devouring heavenly demon cauldron absorbed too much power. I can't handle the backlash." Kongji's face was filled with fear. "Now that we can't use the dark devouring heavenly demon cauldron for 10 days, we've lost our greatest life-saving trump card. I don't know if we've made a profit or a loss by obtaining only 100 realm essence crystals." Zhong Lixing fell silent. They had obtained close to 1,000,000 spirit stones this time. This was a huge sum of money. However, they had lost a life-saving trump card for this sum of money. In this perilous environment, it was hard to say whether it was a loss or not. "Let's go. No matter what, we've already done this. Let's go somewhere else and stop wasting time with them." Zhong Lixing thought for a moment, then decided to give up on fighting against Lin and the others. He planned to search for other opportunities. At the same time, in the mystic realm at the bottom of the lake, the 1,000-foot-tall black stone pillar started to crumble. Finally, it shattered into pieces and fell to the ground. And Lin and the others focused their attention as they stared at the spot where the stone pillar had crumbled. A figure appeared in the smoke and dust. It seemed to be a human. When the smoke and dust slowly dissipated, and Lin could finally see the figure clearly, he had an extremely handsome face and a pair of black dragon horns on his head. His eyes were crimson, and there was a hint of madness in them. Why am I still alive? Didn't the great time obliteration spell formation succeed? Why am I still here? The dragon tribe male stared at his surroundings in confusion. Tears of grief flowed from his eyes. And Lin, what is that dragon saying? Lu Chu couldn't understand the ancient man language, so she asked curiously. Hong Do and Ling Ying also turned to look at Lin with curiosity in their eyes. He seemed very dissatisfied with the fact that he didn't die, so he was so angry that he cried, and Lin explained. Lu Chu. Everyone, the man from the dragon clan, looked at the ground in front of him. As if realizing something, his body suddenly trembled. "I see. Even the realm essence crystals have disappeared. This must be the reason." He turned his gaze to Lin and the others, and a terrifying, murderous aura swept towards them. He growled in a low voice, "How dare you ruin my suicide plan? I want you dead." Everyone could feel a terrifying power. The power gave them a feeling of invincibility. It was as though the man from the dragon race could kill them all with a single strike. "Wait, this has nothing to do with us." And Lin immediately waved his hands with an innocent expression as he explained, "There were 2 true demons who took away all of the realm essence crystals from this place. We tailed them all the way here, but we were still a step too late. They used a mystic technique to escape." The man from the dragon tribe faltered slightly upon hearing this, and his violent aura receded significantly. However, his eyes were still fixed on Enlin, and it was as though he was about to attack at any moment. Enlin heaved a sigh of relief upon seeing this. Fortunately, this man from the dragon tribe wasn't the kind of lunatic who would attack upon meeting someone. There was still room for negotiation, Senior. Since there's nothing else, we will take our leave. And Lin felt that it wasn't wise to stay here any longer. They had already taken all the realm essence crystals. There was no point in killing this boss who didn't even have a storage ring and didn't even drop any treasures. Thus, he immediately wanted to leave this place. The man from the dragon tribe remained silent. Seeing this, Enlin immediately turned around and prepared to flee. Wait, you can't leave before I die, the man from the dragon tribe suddenly said. Enlin, what is he saying? Lu Chu asked curiously. He said that we can't leave before he dies. Enlin felt like his liver was throbbing with pain as he replied with a speechless expression. Lu Chu's lips twitched upon hearing this. Had they encountered a psychopath? The man from the dragon tribe looked up into the sky with a sorrowful expression. I've been trapped in this sanctuary for tens of thousands of years. I can't leave and I can't die. Everyone has left me, and I'm the only one left here tasting endless loneliness. As he spoke, he turned to look at Enlin and the others with a sinister expression. Loneliness. This is endless loneliness. Do you know what loneliness is? Enlin felt like this man from the dragon tribe was about to be driven insane by this environment. What did it have to do with him, whether this man from the dragon tribe was lonely or not? Did he want him to play and chat with him? In any case, either you kill me or you stay here with me. The man from the dragon tribe finally voiced his thoughts. Enlin relayed the words of the man from the dragon tribe to everyone, and they were all dumbstruck. All right, they had to admit that this man was indeed very pitiful. However, he didn't want to live anymore. Most importantly, he was trying to drag them down with him. Senior, then why can't you leave? Even though Enlin was cursing in his heart, he still maintained a respectful smile on his face. Do you see the golden scar on the ground? That's the nomological power of heaven and earth. I'm already at the return to void stage, so I can't cross this golden scar. It exudes an extremely powerful repulsive force toward return to void stage cultivators, so I can't even approach it, let alone cross it. The man from the dragon tribe stared at the golden scar a few hundred meters away with an expression of despair and indignation. And Lin came to a sudden realization upon hearing this. Return to void stage cultivators were prohibited from entering the ancient divine division. Then his eyes suddenly lit up, and he transmitted his voice to everyone. That man from the dragon tribe is at the return to void stage, so he can't cross the golden scar. In other words, he won't be able to catch up to us as long as we escape from the golden scar. Everyone's hearts were instantly filled with hope upon hearing this. But all return to void stage cultivators have spatial restrictions. Although it's only a distance of 500 meters, we still might not be able to cross the golden scar. After all, it's just a matter of raising a hand for a return to void stage cultivator to free space. Lu Chu voiced out her concern. Indeed, if we really fail to escape and anger that dragon, we'll all die here. Han Do was extremely cowardly at this moment, and he also strongly supported Lu Chu's point of view. At this moment, the man from the dragon tribe continued, I know what you're thinking, but I advise you to give up on the idea of escaping. Otherwise, I'll make you wish you were dead. A cold smile suddenly appeared on his face, and he even licked the corner of his lips as he shook his head slightly. And Lin felt a chill spread through his body. This guy has definitely gone crazy. He's just a low-profile crazy person. If the man from the dragon tribe really went crazy, they'd definitely be screwed. I've also said that I want you to grant me death. As long as you succeed, I'll let you go. The man from the dragon tribe continued, and Lin's lips twitched upon hearing this. If they really killed this man from the dragon tribe, then even if he didn't let them go, they could still leave. After all, the man from the dragon tribe was already dead. How could a dead person stop them? Sure enough, the man from the dragon tribe had stayed in this sanctuary for too long, and his intelligence had also become low. Chapter 507. Senior, can't you try stabbing your own heart with a sword? And Lin hesitated momentarily before asking. The dragon tribe male shook his head. Although I want to die, my Tao doesn't allow me to die, so I can't do it to myself. No matter what method I use to commit suicide, there will always be an extremely mysterious power of Tao stopping me. Tao could stop someone from committing suicide? This was the first time Lin had heard of something like this. Pardon me for asking, but what Tao do you cultivate, Senior? And Lin asked curiously. I cultivate the Tao of indestructibility. The dragon tribe male didn't hide anything as he replied calmly. And Lin, a being who cultivated the Tao of indestructibility, was begging someone to grant him death? What was wrong with this world? If he wanted to die so badly, why did he choose the Tao of indestructibility in the first place? As if reading in Lin's mind, the dragon tribe male heaved a faint sigh. Most return to void stage cultivators have a lifespan of 1,000,000 years, but I've already lived for several million years. No, this doesn't even include the time I've spent here using the time obliteration formation to kill myself. If I were to include this period of time, then it would be a terrifying amount of time. The dragon tribe male shuddered involuntarily. My cultivation base hasn't increased in the slightest. Living here is no different from dying. No, there is a difference. Living here is even more painful than dying. There's nothing I can do. There's no change at all. It's deathly silent. I don't even know what to do here. I recognize every tiny particle here and have even given them a name. I just stand here like an idiot. 1 year, 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years, 10,000 years, 100,000 years, 1,000,000 years, 10,000,000 years, 100,000,000 years. This is an eternal cage. Tears streamed down the dragon tribe male's face as he spoke, and Lin finally felt a hint of sympathy for this man upon hearing this. Then, Senior, if I kill you, you won't retaliate? And Lin asked. No. The dragon tribe male shook his head with a serious expression. After a moment, he added, However, each of you can only attack once. Although I'm not afraid of death, I'm afraid of pain. And Lin, what an unreasonable request! And Lin relayed the dragon tribe male's request to Lu Chu and the others, and everyone fell silent again. I can only attack once. In that case, each of us will use our strongest attacks and attack that male dragon at the same time. That way, our chances of success will be the highest. Linging said, He's cultivating in the Tao of indestructibility, so why don't we ask him what he's afraid of first? That way, we'll be able to figure out what he's afraid of, Lu Chu suggested. And Lin felt that it was reasonable. He turned around and asked, Senior, what are you afraid of? In other words, what kind of power is most likely to kill you? The dragon male replied, I'm afraid of pain. And Lin's lips twitched. That's it. The dragon tribe male pondered for a moment before adding, I'm also afraid of loneliness. And Lin, after a round of discussion, everyone decided to send Hong Do to be the first person to kill the dragon tribe male. They wanted to see what his indestructibility was like. It would be best if he succeeded. But if he didn't, it would be a data collection to provide theoretical experience for their future plans. Hong Do walked up to the dragon tribe male with an expression of disrespect. He had no choice. He was the first person chosen by the voting results, so no matter what, he was still number one for once. Come, I've already removed all my defenses. Use your strongest and most terrifying power to kill me, the dragon tribe male said. Then he clasped his hands behind his back, as if he was ready to be slaughtered by Hong Do. Hong Do took a deep breath. Didn't they look down on me? Now, I'm going to prove myself and show them just how strong I am." Hong Do roared in rage, and a towering crimson flame erupted from his body. Scorching heat waves swept out for over a kilometer, and his might was extremely terrifying. Red Lotus explosion. He placed his hands on his chest and made a gesture similar to a heart. A crimson lotus flower appeared from his chest and slowly floated toward the dragon tribe male. The lotus flower contained an extremely terrifying flame power. It continuously condensed and compressed, releasing an extremely dazzling and scorching light. "This is a lotus formed from my most powerful flame of life. Once it explodes, the temperature at the center of the flames will be over 100,000 degrees. Even if you're a return to void stage cultivator, you'll still be burned to ashes by this high temperature," Hong Do said as he retreated. The others also retreated to avoid being affected by the shock waves of the explosion. The dragon tribe male scratched his head in confusion. Was that rock golem talking to him just now? It should be. But please, we don't speak the same language. That confident expression made it seem as if he could really understand what he was saying. The dragon tribe male deduced that Hong Do probably wanted him to eat this crimson lotus flower, right? Ahem. That should be it. Thereupon, the dragon tribe male opened his mouth and swallowed the crimson lotus flower floating toward him. Hong Do, everyone, boom! An earth-shattering explosion sounded. They could see the dragon tribe male's stomach expand and turn red. It was as if a sun was being born in his stomach. Then he opened his mouth wide. PFFF, like a laser cannon. The flames shot toward the hazy sky, as if they were going to pierce through the heavens. Following the release of energy, his stomach slowly shrunk again. The dragon tribe male grimaced and rubbed his stomach. So hot and swollen. It hurts so much. No, it doesn't hurt so much, it just hurts. But it doesn't kill me. Burp. Hong Do's body swayed slightly, and he stared at the dragon tribe male in disbelief. How is this possible? My most powerful attack was eaten, and it even exploded in his stomach? And it only felt a little hot and swollen? He slowly squatted down and crossed his rock arms. Then he lowered his head and murmured, "I really am a useless rock. I'm completely useless," and Lin and the others didn't even want to ridicule Hong Do anymore. They were also shocked by the dragon tribe male's physical strength. He tossed a large bomb into his stomach, yet he looked completely fine after the explosion. His physical strength was absolutely terrifying. "I feel like we definitely won't be able to kill this dragon tribe male using normal offensive spell techniques. We have to attack from another angle. Let me be the second one." Lu Chu thought to herself for a moment before drawing her longbow. The vital energy of heaven and earth started to surge violently, and a semi-transparent arrow started to materialize on the bowstring. And Lin looked at the arrow and felt a sharp pain in his consciousness. There was also an indescribable feeling of being torn apart. It was as if he was facing an existence that could annihilate his soul. "Divine technique, soul-crushing arrow," Lu Chu yelled, and the semi-transparent arrow created an invisible ripple in the air. It pierced through the air and instantly pierced through the dragon tribe male's head. "This is a divine bow technique that specifically targets one's consciousness. It's my most powerful attack against one's consciousness. If his consciousness is unable to withstand my spirit-vanquishing, soul-vanquishing arrow, then he will perish," Lu Chu explained. Everyone stared nervously at the dragon tribe male who had his head pierced by the soul-crushing arrow. Their breathing slowed as if they were afraid of alerting something. In the instant that the dragon tribe male was struck by the arrow, his expression froze, and it was as if he had lost something. However, his eyes quickly regained clarity, and he massaged his brows with a pained expression. "My head hurts like hell. No, it's not that his head hurts, it's only pain, not death." Sigh. His sorrowful sigh reverberated throughout heaven and earth. Everyone's eyes widened in shock as if they had witnessed something inconceivable. Lu Chu-Chu's slender body swayed, and a dejected expression appeared on her face. How could this be? I used all of my trump cards, and it only made his head hurt, and Lin was also given a fright. Lu Chu-Chu was the one with the most powerful offensive ability in their team. Even so, she was unable to kill the defenseless Dragon Tribe male. The disparity in strength made him feel despair. Just what else could they do to kill this Dragon Tribe male? Chapter 508. And Lin racked his brains to see which of his skills were more powerful. The first skill that came to his mind was the nuclear lightning fist. This attack could at least cripple a return to Void Stage Mighty Figure, even if it didn't kill him. However, this Dragon Tribe male was clearly no ordinary return to Void Stage Mighty Figure. He was a return to Void Stage Mighty Figure who had attained the Tao of Indestructibility. This meant that he was definitely a F** king, powerful being. Didn't he see how he took Hong Do's attack like it was a bowl of spicy soup? How could a being with such terrifying physical strength die after taking a nuclear lightning fist? Right here, Linging began to float toward the Dragon Tribe male. Let me do it. Just because his body and consciousness are powerful doesn't mean that his body won't react with the outside world. It doesn't mean that his cell structure won't deteriorate due to poison. As he spoke, his aura surged and his tentacles danced in the air. Suddenly, a drop of black liquid shot out from one of the longest tentacles. It floated in the air and was pitch black in color. This drop of liquid is poison that I've refined for over 3 years. If you put it into the ocean, it can instantly kill all living beings within a radius of 50 kilometers. It's impervious to any kind of power and can rapidly kill the cells of living beings, robbing them of their life force. In the end, the body will decompose into the tiniest particles. Swallow it. Ling Ying tossed the drop of black liquid to the Dragon Tribe male. The Dragon Tribe male looked at the drop of black liquid with disdain. Seeing this, Lin immediately relayed Ling Ying's words to the Dragon Tribe male. All right, in order to die successfully, I'll endure it. The Dragon Tribe man frowned and swallowed the drop of liquid into his stomach. Everyone looked at the male in front of them nervously, anticipating what was going to happen next. The Dragon Tribe male's body trembled as if he had been electrocuted. Then, as if nothing had happened, he rubbed his stomach, looking as if he had not had enough. I thought that this drop of black liquid would be disgusting, but I didn't expect it to have a different kind of mellow fragrance. After I swallowed it and it melted into my body, my whole body couldn't help but shiver. A destructive feeling of numbness spread all over my body and surged to my soul. In the end, my soul reached a high climax. The Dragon Tribe male gave a thumbs up. Amazing! And Lin began to relay the story expressionlessly. Everyone was dumbstruck. Ling Ying's body swayed violently and she almost fell from the sky. Do you still have this liquid? I'll make an exception and let you poison me again, the Dragon Tribe man added. Ling Ying spat out a mouthful of blood. What the F***CK do you mean I'll poison you again? I mean let you enjoy yourself again, right? That was the venom that he had refined for 3 years, and it was used up by that man just like that. Ling Ying had a mental breakdown, and she stood beside Hong Do while drawing circles on the ground with her tentacles. And Lin felt immense pressure. He felt that he no longer had any trump cards. Most of his spells were simple and crude. If he wanted to kill someone with such abnormal defense, the success rate was infinitely close to 0. He had to find another way. Tina, it's your turn this time. And Lin said, Ah. Tina nodded nonchalantly before charging toward the Dragon Tribe man with her Heart Lotus Ice sword in hand. She didn't have that many twists and turns. Her Heart Lotus Ice sword elongated infinitely, and it was like a blue line that sliced heaven and earth apart as it slashed toward the Dragon Tribe cultivator's throat with boundless sharpness. Poochie! The fearsome blade sliced through the Dragon Tribe cultivator's throat, and blood gushed forth. The Dragon Tribe Cultivator was also given a fright. Never would he have thought that this tiny little thing would give him such a pleasant surprise. Use more force. Hurry up and slice. You're almost there. Don't give up. He encouraged her as he spat out a mouthful of blood. The scene was simply too beautiful. Tina let loose a delicate cry, and the power of holy light erupted from her body before fusing into the heart lotus ice sword. Blue and white sword projections intertwined, and the power of the sword was elevated to the next level. Splat! Blood splattered through the air, and a human head with a dragon horn was severed from his body before falling to the ground. And Lin and the others all drew a sharp intake of breath before erupting into raucous cheers. You finally killed that psycho. You did a great job, Little Na. And Lin was not stingy with his words of praise. All of us thought that he was able to swallow Hong Do's attack, so we all thought that his defenses were indestructible. However, we neglected the fact that powerful weapons can sometimes be combined with physical strength to break through his insane defenses. Lu Chu said with a smile. Hong Do continued to draw circles upon hearing this. Which one of you called me a nut job? A familiar voice suddenly sounded. Everyone shuddered as they looked toward the source of the voice, and all of them drew a sharp intake of breath. The Dragon Tribe Cultivator in the center was clutching his head with his right hand, and there was a displeased expression on his face from being called a nut job. And Lin, everyone, Hong Do told me. And Lin replied with an honest expression. F***CK. And Lin, are you trying to frame me again? Hong Do flared up with rage. All right. I can't be bothered with these trivial matters. That fairy performed quite well, and I felt like I was about to die. However, that was just an illusion. An attack of this caliber is still too weak. I feel like with your strength you guys can slice me into 1,000 pieces, but that's just an illusion. An attack of this caliber is still too weak. I feel like with your strength alone, you guys won't be able to do anything even if you slice me into 1,000 pieces. The Dragon Tribe Cultivator placed his head back to its original position, and countless crimson lines suddenly appeared on the incision on his skin. His head was completely sewn back together. It's your turn now. I hope you won't disappoint me. The Dragon Tribe male turned toward Lin with a smile. It's your turn now. I hope you won't disappoint me. The Dragon Tribe Cultivator turned toward Lin with a smile. It could be said that Tina's previous attack had dissuaded him from using the 6 strikes of the war god. Now there was only one technique left, and Lin suddenly raised his head to look at the Dragon Tribe Cultivator, and a pair of eyes formed from golden vein patterns appeared on his forehead. Divine Plunder Technique. A golden ripple spread out and swept toward the Dragon Tribe Cultivator. Boom! Tens of thousands of powerful spell techniques and unique energy signatures appeared in Lin's mind, and Lin felt like his head was about to split open, and his entire being was submerged by this vast amount of information. F***CK. Don't normal people only have a few or a dozen abilities that they can plunder? How come this Dragon Tribe Cultivator has tens of thousands of abilities? What kind of monster is he? PFFF. And Lin threw up a large mouthful of blood from the backlash of the spell technique, and he half knelt to the ground as he almost fainted. Is the Divine Plunder Technique overloaded? I haven't even plundered any abilities yet. The Dragon Tribe Cultivator stared at Lin with a dumbstruck expression. Everyone else was also staring at Lin with bewilderment on their faces. What happened? Why didn't Lin throw up blood? F***CK. I can't take it anymore. I need to rest. And Lin waved his hands frantically as if he were suffering from kidney failure. Dragon Tribe Cultivator. Everyone. So, and Lin didn't even get to do anything before withdrawing? Was he severely injured by the Dragon Tribe Cultivator's aura? The Dragon Tribe Cultivator was this terrifying. Chapter 509. And Lin swallowed a blood spirit pill before sitting down to meditate. He hadn't even started plundering before he was struck by a spell technique. This was an absolute humiliation to him. However, thinking about it, the dragon tribe male was an old monster that had lived for God knows how many tens of thousands of years, so it wasn't strange for him to know some spell techniques. As such, Enlin's defeat was understandable. Are you all right? Hong Do stood up and made his way over to Enlin before asking in a deep voice. Enlin's chest constricted. He didn't think that Hong Do would ask him if he was all right. This was truly a humiliation. The dragon tribe male scratched his head in confusion. Although, I don't know what's going on, but seeing as you can't kill me, why don't you chat with me? Enlin was still recuperating from his injuries, and Tina was very considerate as she translated for him. Everyone looked at each other upon hearing this. This dragon tribe male was extremely powerful, and they didn't dare to disobey him. Thus, they could only obediently stand in a line and allow him to speak. Tell me, what's going on in the outside world? Has the destruction of our continent ended? The dragon tribe male asked in a calm voice. If the world you're talking about is the ancient Tai Chu realm, then the destruction hasn't ended. There's less than 1% of the continent left, and it'll probably disappear forever after tens of thousands of years. Ling Ying waved her tentacles as she relayed the information she knew. The dragon tribe male fell silent for a moment before a faint smile appeared on his face. The ancient Tai Chu realm. So you're all living beings from another world? That makes sense. You're all so young, so there's no way normal living beings could be born in the outside world. Furthermore, your life force hasn't been contaminated, so you're clearly not born in this world. Senior, can you tell us why this world has become like this? Lu Chu asked with a curious expression. She had never heard of any sane mighty figures in the ancient Tai Chu realm. Now that she had encountered one, she naturally couldn't give up. She had to seize this opportunity to learn more about this world. The dragon tribe male chuckled lightly, but a dejected expression appeared on his face. Knowing too much right now won't do any good. In fact, it might even affect your Dao hearts. All you need to remember is that nothing is eternal, not even the heavens. The man pointed at the sky above and continued, There will be a time when it will collapse. The dragon tribe male clearly knew something about the collapse of this world, but he didn't want to talk too much with Lu Chu and the others. Instead, he was very interested in Tina's world. The information that Lu Chu had obtained from the dragon tribe male was limited to the locations near Panlong Mountain that had a high probability of producing realm essence crystals, as well as the reason why they were produced. Realm essence crystals were the essence of a world. They were the source of matter left behind after a world had collapsed. Dao integration stage mighty figures could use them to create a new world. They usually grew in the nodes of collapsing worlds, and the more chaotic the collapsing environment, the higher the probability of them appearing. They could be found in the demon god, tribe male star, of demon essence, demon to them, in Mo, Huan Tian and god, it, god of it, the god long, and of the saint, demon, long, I to of to do, and in Tian, and of and Lin listened to the dragon tribe man speak, and he learned that the man's name was Xiao Tu, and he was a general of the ancient Tai Chu realm dragon tribe. At that time, the dragon tribe was far more powerful than the current dragon tribe of the dragon court of the eastern seas. They had several Dao integration stage mighty figures, and there was also an illuminating dragon that could command the weather within a radius of 10,000 kilometers. When it opened its eyes, it was day. When it closed its eyes, it was night. When it closed its eyes, it could determine the seasons. In any case, the dragon tribe on this continent was even more powerful than the celestial court and was far more powerful than the dragon court of the eastern seas. According to the male dragon tribe Cultivator, there was also an Ao faction in the dragon tribe. He wondered if it was the predecessor of the dragon court of the eastern seas. After chatting for a while, Xiao Tu turned to Enlin again. Mr. Enlin, have you thought about how you're going to kill me? Don't throw up blood again. The corners of Lin's mouth twitched. He had actually thought of a way when he was meditating. However, he didn't know how safe this method would be. If he was even the slightest bit careless, he could die as well. I think I've thought of a way, but before I use this method, I have a few questions that I would like to ask you, Senior. And Lin hesitated momentarily before deciding to give it a try. Sure, ask away. Xiao Tu nodded nonchalantly. Senior, if you don't have the power of Tao to prevent you from committing suicide, what techniques would you need to use to kill yourself? And Lin asked, That's a lot. Even though I'm cultivating in the Tao of indestructibility, I haven't reached the Tao integration stage yet. If the destructive power exceeds a certain threshold, it can break through my indestructible body. Let me think. If I could attack myself, there would be over 10,000 ways to kill myself. Xiao Tu replied with a serious expression. Everyone was shocked to hear this, and a sense of defeat welled up in their hearts, and Lin was ecstatic to hear this. And he continued, Then how many ways are there to kill yourself by releasing energy? The success rate has to be high, the energy has to be gathered precisely, and there are no side effects. Xiao Tu blinked as a thoughtful expression appeared on his face. He didn't know why Lin was asking this, but he still tried his best to cooperate with Lin. I have a dragon's breath technique known as the star engulfing flames, which can instantly annihilate the target's body and consciousness. This technique fits your description. What do you think? And Lin's balls froze upon hearing this. It wasn't a matter of what he thought. It was a matter of how terrifying it was. Instantly annihilating the target's body and consciousness? That was King eradicating the target's existence. He wasn't sure if he could use this energy. Do you want to think of another technique? And Lin continued. Xiao Tu thought for a moment before replying. I have a sort of death that can connect with the power of heaven and earth and sever karma with a single sword strike. Holy *T. That's even more unfathomable now. Ahem. Let's talk about the star-engulfing flames technique. It's a ballistic attack, right? And Lin asked, Ballistic attack? Xiao Tu blinked in confusion, clearly unable to comprehend this unfamiliar term. It's a straight-line attack that has a clear trajectory, and Lin explained. Oh, that's right. Xiao Tu nodded, and Lin heaved a light sigh of relief upon hearing this, and a hint of confidence appeared on his face. Then please attack me with the star-engulfing flames, Senior. What? Everyone was shocked to hear this, and they stared blankly at Lin. You want to die? Why? Han Do's mouth gaped open. And Lin, why? Why do you want to die? You haven't even made your will yet. Who's going to inherit your storage ring? Lu Chuchu asked with an astonished expression. Even so, she still hadn't forgotten her true self. Giant Lin, didn't you say you were going to show me this world? Tears shimmered in her eyes. Don't overthink things. I don't want to die, and I'll be fine. This is all part of the plan. And Lin waved a dismissive hand before turning to Xiao Tu again. Please attack me with your full power. I'll use the star-engulfing flames. He couldn't tell Xiao Tu his plan. Otherwise, it would be hinting at his Tao, and Xiao Tu would most likely not attack him. Really? You're not afraid of death? Xiao Tu asked. I'm afraid of death, but I'm not going to die. As for you, I hope you won't be afraid of death when the time comes. And Lin chuckled. Ha ha ha. All right. How interesting. I'm coming. Take this attack. Xiao Tu chortled with glee as he opened his mouth and aimed it toward Lin. Star-engulfing flames. Boom! Terrifying black flames tore through space before hurtling toward Lin with the power of annihilation. Chapter 510. The space in the wake of the black flames was riddled with cracks. The terrifying power of annihilation radiated forth, striking everyone with a sense of asphyxiation. And Lin had already fully charged the vermilion bird mirror in his hand. After activating the vermilion bird mirror with all his might, a rippling mirror surface appeared over his body, creating a barrier around his body. Boom! The star-engulfing flames that Xiao Tu had spat out crashed into the rippling mirror surface, upon which a peculiar ripple appeared. Immediately afterward, the flames seemed to have entered a different dimension and disappeared. Xiao Tu's expression faltered upon seeing this, and he felt as if he was looking at himself when he turned to look at Enlin. His other self's mouth was wide open, and the star-engulfing flames were blasting forth from his mouth. Boom! Within the rippling mirror surface, the star-engulfing flames erupted forth with the power of annihilation, and it was like a ferocious beast that was about to incinerate everything in its path, all of which was directed toward Xiao Tu. Xiao Tu was truly astonished this time. He looked up at the oncoming attack, and he temporarily lost all ability to think. Only one thought flashed through his mind. Should he dodge or not? This shouldn't count as self-destruction, right? This was Enlin's technique, right? It wouldn't go against his own Tao, right? Just as these thoughts were running through his mind, the star-engulfing flames had already engulfed Xiao Tu's body and annihilated his consciousness along with it. Everything returned to nothingness, and only the space that was riddled with cracks was left, illustrating just how terrifying that attack had been. Lu Chu and the others stared blankly at Xiao Tu, who had been incinerated into nothingness, before turning to Enlin, who was standing on the spot, completely unscathed, and they finally drew a sharp intake of breath. What spell technique was that? How could it reflect such a terrifying attack? Ling Ying stared at Enlin with awe and veneration on her face. No wonder you made that request. Enlin, you've already come up with such a perfect plan. A hint of envy appeared on Lu Chu's delicate features as she stared at Enlin with bright eyes. Tina flew around Enlin with elation in her eyes. Giant Enlin's technique is truly marvelous. As the saying went, the one who understood one's own weaknesses the most was oneself. Not only would Xiao Tu be able to make up for his lack of strength by killing himself, but he would also be able to find the perfect remedy for his weakness. Ah, Enlin really is a genius. All of Tina's words were useless, but Enlin was very happy to see it, and he turned to everyone with a nonchalant smile. Hong Do felt like this smile was a little dazzling, and he recoiled involuntarily. Ah, I'm finally free. Thank you. Thank you, Enlin. I didn't expect happiness to come so quickly and so suddenly. This voice made everyone shudder. It was Xiao Tu's voice. Furthermore, this wasn't the Tai Chu language or the ancient man language. Instead, it was an extremely special language that allowed everyone to clearly understand what Xiao Tu was saying. Enlin and the others looked around, but they couldn't find any trace of Xiao Tu's day. There's no need to look for me. I'm already dead, and this is only a wisp of my Tao intent talking to you now. This wisp of Tao intent will disappear soon, and the resurrection spell formation that I've prepared will be fully activated. Resurrection spell formation? Enlin almost threw up a mouthful of blood upon hearing this. F***CK. You can resurrect? So you're not really dead. No, I'm really dead. Otherwise, the resurrection spell formation wouldn't have been fully activated. This cage is formed by the laws of heaven and earth. Only by transcending life and death and coming back to life from the extremity of death can one deceive the heavens and earth. Fortunately, I'm afraid of death. So I prepared a large-scale resurrection formation in advance. Otherwise, I would really be left with only two choices, a life worse than death or an eternal death. I'll cut to the chase. I'm here to tell you that there are 6 blazing sun pills under the shattered stone pillars. They're Tier 5 immortal pills that I refined using the power of the void during my long years of boredom. After consuming them, you'll be able to unleash limitless latent potential for a short time. It's very fun. Xiao Tu's voice slowly faded away like a gust of wind. Lu Chu and Enlin's eyes lit up, and they immediately ran toward the shattered stone pillars. Boom, 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 boom. Transportation technique, earth breaking technique, excavation technique, Soon, an exquisite box appeared in front of everyone, and Lynn opened the box. Holy *T. A rich pill aroma instantly wafted through the air, and the power of the pill even swept outward for several hundred meters. A kind of pill intent that wanted to break through the sky made everyone a little excited. I contributed the most, so it's not too much to ask for two, right? And Lin licked his lips. No one had any objections, so Lin received 3 scorching sun pills. Hong Do held one of the scorching sun pills with a hint of shame on his face. After all, he had made it this far, so he felt a little guilty. Lu Chu had a nagging feeling that there was something else in the ground, so she continued to dig for a while. In the end, she was still dragged away by Lin, and only then did she reluctantly stop. This sanctuary was only about 10,000 feet in radius, and everything had been reduced to white dust. Even the skeletons had been wiped out by Lin and the others. They walked around the sanctuary and didn't discover anything else, so they decided to leave. In the center of the White Lake, a huge splash erupted and 5 figures appeared. The sun had already risen above the horizon, and another day had passed before they knew it. We're going to the Heavenly Snow Abyss Mountain next. It's the closest place to Panlong Mountain, and I heard from Xiao Tu that there are even more realm essence crystals there than Panlong Mountain. Are you guys planning to go there? And Lin asked Hong Do and Ling Ying. Ling Ying nodded. I've explored almost half of Panlong Mountain, and I've already obtained all the realm essence crystals I wanted. I was just about to go to the Heavenly Snow Abyss Mountain to have a look. I heard that all of the snow beasts there have a realm essence crystal, but I'm not sure if that's true. Lu Chu pursed her lips. So what if it's true? How can killing a snow beast earn me more money than killing an enemy? If you ask me, killing people for their treasures is the right way to go. Ling Ying, Hong Do, and Lin pursed his lips, but he still made up his mind in the end. All right, then let's go to the Heavenly Snow Abyss Mountain to have a look. Heavenly Snow Abyss Mountain. This entire area was covered in boundless snow and ice. When the sun shone upon this area, it would be transformed into a blue light, and there was not a single hint of warmth in the air. There was a massive, inky black rift in the sky. The rift stretched across the sky like a scar in the sky, and it was filled with an aura of death and destruction. Directly below the rift, a mountain over 100,000 feet tall stood between heaven and earth, and it appeared as if it were about to sink into the rift. There was a massive ice crystal at the summit of the mountain, and within the ice crystal was an exquisitely beautiful woman with a cold expression. She was currently meditating with her eyes closed, and she was constantly drawing upon the destructive power within the rift in the sky. 6 powerful snow maidens stood guard beside the ice crystal, and they looked around cautiously. Palace leader Qi, Shangguan Yi's rate of absorption seems to be a lot faster than we anticipated. At this rate, the soul aura of the ice matriarch will awaken within her body in a day at most. If that's the case, can we complete the second plan as well? A petite snow maiden suggested. Even though we fulfilled the conditions for the second plan, don't forget that protecting Shangguan Yi is our top priority. We have to cancel any missions that might endanger her. A woman with a pair of massive wings of ice and snow behind her was clearly the leader of this group of snow maidens. A woman with a pair of massive wings of ice and snow on her back spoke in an extremely firm voice. She was clearly the leader of this group of snow maidens. Humph. If you don't want to go, then so be it. It's a pity about my snow soul beast. The petite snow maiden pouted and ignored the cold, acting palace leader. Chapter 511. On a certain continent in the ancient Tai Chu realm, there was no sun or moon here, only an eternal, boundless starry sky. Peculiar and terrifying spatial mystic realms, cruel and violent heavenly void beasts, as well as all types of supreme treasures. This was the Void Star section, which was filled with boundless perils and opportunities. This was the main battlefield for return to Void Stage mighty figures. Near a gargantuan sacrificial altar, a white-robed sword immortal slashed out one earth-shattering sword projection after another, each of which was capable of tearing open abysses close to 10 kilometers in length. In front of him, 3 distorted phantom bodies lunged toward the man with sharp screeches. One of the void spirit bodies had a viscous sea of blood within a radius of 5 kilometers, and all of their attacks would be nullified by the boundless sea of blood, including the sword immortal's sword projection. Another void spirit body wielded a bolt of annihilation lightning, which was powerful enough to pierce through space and annihilate all things. The final void spirit body seemed to have fused as one with the void, but it was imbued with the most dangerous killing intent, making it the most lethal of the 3 void spirit bodies. Kukuku, Lu Dongbin, you won't be able to get away. How fortunate! Not only will we be able to devour such a delicious soul, but even this fragment of the realm core will be ours. The void spirit body standing atop the sea of blood cackled wildly as its twisted arms danced through the air, and the sea of blood transformed into countless massive hands that pounced toward Lu Dongbin. Humph! You guys won't be able to kill me. The long sword in Lu Dongbin's hand split into 9, all of which instantly stabbed toward 9 different locations in the air to form a massive spell formation. 9-fold demon vanquishing sword formation, activate! Countless sword projections appeared within the spell formation as he let loose an almighty roar, creating an impenetrable sword net that pulverized the crimson hands. Right at this moment, the ground suddenly began to tremor violently. A dazzling light erupted from the sacrificial altar as the boundless power of stars surged toward it in a frenzy. A pillar of white light soared into the sky as a dragon's roar erupted into the heavens, imbued with an unparalleled might. Lu Dongbin was the closest to the pillar of light. His expression shifted drastically as he hurriedly retreated. In that instant, the 3rd void spirit body suddenly sprang into action. Its body transformed into a black spear, which broke through Lu Dongbin's 9-fold demon-slaying sword formation with unstoppable force before stabbing toward Lu Dongbin's chest. Lu Dongbin had no choice but to raise his sword to block the attack, forming a circular barrier of light in front of him. At this moment, the Blood Sea Hand and the Nirvana Thunderbolt arrived at the same time, bringing with them extremely terrifying energy. Rumble! The energy bombardment reduced the ground in a radius of several kilometers to dust. The sword formation light barrier in front of Lu Dongbin collapsed, and his body was violently blasted away. He coughed up blood and crashed into the white pillar of light, causing it to tremble violently. Roar! A tens of miles long black dragon emerged from the pillar of light, letting out a deafening dragon roar. It suddenly destroyed the white pillar of light and descended upon the world with a monstrous pressure. The gigantic body circled in the sky, its black dragon scales expanding and closing, devouring the starlight. It was as if it wanted to cover the entire sky. Who is disturbing this dragon's resurrection? The gigantic black dragon in the sky spoke with a voice like rumbling thunder. Lu Dongbin's face turned deathly pale as he looked up at the black dragon in the sky. He had seen creatures larger than this dragon, but he had never seen one with an aura as powerful as this dragon's, even in the dragon court of the eastern seas. This was undoubtedly a winged dragon at the return to Void pinnacle stage. And this was a winged dragon that was only half a step away from the Tao integration stage. The other 3 Void Spirit Tribe living beings stood in the distance with sinister smiles on their faces as they looked down at Lu Dongbin. It was quite clear that their combined attack was not to kill Lu Dongbin. Instead, it was to push him into the winged dragon's resurrection formation so that the winged dragon could kill Lu Dongbin for them. Once Lu Dongbin died, they would be able to use a mystic technique to imprison Lu Dongbin's soul before slowly savoring it. That's the soul of a top-rate sword immortal. It must be delicious. The lightning void spirit body extended its tongue and licked its lips with a scorching light in its eyes. Oh, human, You were the one who crashed into my resurrection formation. The black dragon's aura surged into the heavens as a frosty light glowed in its eyes. Lu Dongbin gritted his teeth as he tried to think of an excuse. At this moment, the black dragon suddenly spoke again. I was just killed by a human, and now I've encountered another human. Lu Dongbin's heart sank upon hearing this. He was screwed. This dragon must have hated the human race to death. Damn it, who was it that killed this dragon? He had angered this dragon, and now he had to be the scapegoat. Lu Dongbin cursed the human that he had never met in his heart 10,000 times. The three void spirit, tribe mighty figures in the distance were all ecstatic upon hearing this. Kukuku, enemies really do meet. I'm afraid Lu Dongbin is going to be killed by that black dragon this time. The lightning void spirit body chortled with glee. That's great. Does this count as one of our own killing one of our own? The void spirit body of the blood sea was also very pleased with itself. What I'm more interested in is which mighty figure was able to kill such a powerful being. The indistinct void spirit body in the air was quite curious. Right at this moment, the black dragon turned to Lu Dongbin. That's why. I'm quite fond of humans. You seem to have been bullied by those three void spirit tribe bastards. Do you want me to take care of them for you? What? The three returned to void stage, void spirit, tribe mighty figures' laughter abruptly cut off, and they all faltered upon hearing this. Lu Dongbin was also dumbstruck upon hearing this. This dragon was killed by a human, so it had a favorable impression of the human race and was willing to help the human race? What kind of logic was this? Was this dragon crazy? Was there something wrong with its brain? Lu Dongbin's brain worked very quickly. Who cared if this dragon was crazy or not? As long as it could help him, everything was fine. Tears welled up in Lu Dongbin's eyes as he spoke with grief and indignation. Senior, if it weren't for your timely arrival, I would have been killed by those three void spirit, tribe mighty figures. They even tried to destroy your spell formation, and I vowed to protect you with my life. All right. Don't waste time. Just kill them and everything will be fine. The black dragon was clearly not in a good mood, and a sinister smile appeared on its face as it looked at the three returned to void stage, void spirit, tribe mighty figures. It's been a long time since I've exercised. You three are just appetizers, not bad. The three void spirit, tribe mighty figures' expressions shifted drastically, and they immediately fled into the distance. In the next instant, the space within a radius of several dozen kilometers transformed into a hell of lightning. Space shattered, and the great Tao rumbled as countless bolts of lightning flashed between heaven and earth. 10 seconds later, the black dragon returned to the sacrificial altar with the two mutilated bodies in its mouth. Humph! Who would have thought that there would be a little brat who can blend in with the darkness and run so fast? It's been too long since I've exercised. The black dragon wore a disconsolate expression. Lu Dongbin stood off to the side with an apologetic smile on his face. The black dragon was still dissatisfied with such a fearsome battle record, so what else could he say? He had slain two returned to void stage, void, spirit tribe mighty figures, and severely wounded a void spirit, tribe mighty figure in less than 10 seconds. But these void spirit, tribe mighty figures taste pretty good. They're sticky and smooth, and they can enhance one's consciousness. The black dragon chewed a few more times before swallowing the two corpses into his stomach with a yearning expression. Thank you for saving me, Senior. There are a few returned to void stage, void, spirit tribe living beings in the void star section. If you like to eat them, I can take you to them. Lu Dongbin forced a smile onto his face as he offered in a humble manner. The black dragon twisted its body and wagged its tail, as if it was getting used to its new body. After a short while, it said, "By the way, you humans use the same passageway to enter the ancient Tai Chu realm, right?" Lu Dongbin hesitated for a moment and felt that there was no need to hide it, so he cupped his hands and said, "Yes, Senior." "Then you don't have to thank me. If you want to thank someone, thank that little friend in Lin. If he hadn't killed me, I wouldn't have appeared here to save you." The black dragon waved its tail indifferently. When Lu Dongbin heard this, he was dumbfounded, as if he had been struck by lightning. He suddenly remembered that day in the palace, the young man who smiled innocently. What the F***CK? So this powerful black dragon was killed by Enlin. So the person whom he had scolded 10,000 times was Enlin. My God, there was only one thought in Lu Dongbin's mind at this moment. Enlin was terrifying. Chapter 512. I'll be sure to repay Enlin the next time I see him. Lu Dongbin came to his senses and spoke with a respectful expression. How could he not know what the black dragon was trying to do? It was clearly trying to use him to repay Enlin. As for why the black dragon wanted to repay Enlin even though it had been killed by Enlin, that was not something a normal person like him could understand. In any case, he wasn't going to pry too much into it unless he was crazy. The black dragon nodded with satisfaction before suddenly opening its cavernous mouth and inhaling sharply toward the sacrificial altar. Boom! An earth-shattering suction force erupted, causing the massive sacrificial altar to begin to crumble. A dark black vortex appeared in the black dragon's mouth, and it was imbued with a suction force capable of engulfing all things. In the end, the white fragment at the bottom of the sacrificial altar was still sucked into its mouth. Ha ha ha. Nice. It's a fragment of the realm core. Is this the present you're giving me after my resurrection? That's a good deal. The black dragon wagged its tail excitedly. Lu Dongbin's lips twitched, but he didn't say anything. However, his heart was throbbing with pain. All of a sudden turn of events unfolded. A mighty force suddenly descended from heaven and earth, acting upon the black dragon's body, causing its tough dragon scales to suddenly crack open and blood to splatter through the air. Howl! The black dragon wailed in agony and almost plummeted from the sky. What kind of power is this? Why can't I resist it? Lu Dongbin came to his senses and spoke in a panicked voice. Senior, this crumbling heaven and earth can no longer accommodate return to void stage living beings who are close to Tao integration stage. Any living beings of this level who enter this realm will suffer backlash from the laws of heaven and earth. This continent has already become like this. The black dragon gritted its teeth as if it was enduring some kind of terrifying power. Where is your alternate world teleportation badge? Let me sense it. Lu Dongbin handed his teleportation badge to the black dragon without any hesitation. The world you're in gives me a very familiar feeling, as if it's the twin of this world. No, it's more appropriate to describe it as two mirror worlds. I'll leave this place first. It takes a lot of energy to travel between the two worlds with my physical body. If I stay here any longer, I'll probably die again. The black dragon swung its tail and immediately tore through space to escape. Lu Dongbin sighed as he watched the black dragon take away the fragment of the world core with a wave of its tail. Sigh. I've been busy for the past few days in vain again. Ancient God Realm, Snow Abyss Mountain. Hongdo was traversing through a massive cave. His massive rock body was curled up into a ball, and he was trembling uncontrollably. The red flames in front of his chest were extremely dim, as if they were on the verge of being snuffed out. Hang in there. The hanging ice lake is right in front of us. And Lin gritted his teeth and persisted. The ceiling of the cave was covered with barbed icicles that emitted a chilling aura. The entire space was shrouded in blue cold air. There was a bright blue lake about a kilometer away from the cave, and the blue cold air was emanating from it. Even in such a frigid environment, there were no signs of ice forming over the lake. The closer they got to the hanging ice lake, the more terrifying the power of frost became. Xiao, Tu said that snow soul beasts live at the bottom of the hanging ice lake. I wonder if that's true. Even if it's true, who's going to go down there and capture them? Lu Chuchu's teeth chattered. Her body was quite weak to begin with, so she was less resistant to the cold. Her petite body was curled up into a ball, and she was unable to keep out the frosty air. I'm a good swimmer, so I can go down there. Ling Ying volunteered. He was the one who was the least affected by the power of frost, and he floated through the air with a calm expression. And Lin nodded. Tina, Lu Chu, and I will provide support in case of emergency. Hong Do's flames are quite powerful, so he'll be responsible for illuminating the area and keeping the cold at bay. He turned toward Hong Do as he spoke. Huh, where's Hong Do? And Lin faltered slightly as he discovered that Hong Do had disappeared. Everyone was also startled to discover that Hong Do had been frozen into an ice sculpture a few dozen meters away. Hong Do had his arms wrapped around his chest, and his legs were spread wide open with fear and indignation etched on his face. Everyone, and Lin's lips twitched. Isn't he very bad *SS at using fire? What's going on here? Ling Ying scratched her head with a resigned expression. Hong Do's flames are the flames of life, which means that flames are like life itself. Life is afraid of the cold, so flames are also afraid of the cold. Hence, in order to protect itself, Hong Do has voluntarily withdrawn his power. This was the first time they had heard of flames that were afraid of the cold. In other words, Hong Do is now extremely afraid of the cold, so he's completely useless? And Lin rolled his eyes. An awkward expression appeared on Ling Ying's face. Let's ignore him and exclude him from the distribution of treasures. Everyone nodded upon hearing this. No **T. Thus, everyone arrived at the edge of the hanging ice lake. The bone-chilling frost continued to spread through the surroundings, and they had no choice but to unleash spell techniques to defend themselves. The lake was a deep blue and bottomless abyss, and the darkness at its depths seemed to be threatening to engulf all living beings. I can't do this anymore. I'd better get away from here. Lu Chuchu's long, beautiful hair was covered in frost, and her teeth were chattering as she retreated 100 meters away from the lake. If it weren't for this snow soul beast, she wouldn't have come to this accursed place to suffer in the cold. The snow soul beast was one of the 10 legendary beast pets of the ancient Taichu realm, and it possessed an extremely powerful ice-type Dao foundation. If nurtured well, it could even reach the return to void stage with no issues. Apparently, it was also extremely adorable. Just from its appearance alone, it was able to enchant countless female cultivators and become the #1 beast pet that all female cultivators yearned for. However, its population was extremely small, and it only appeared in the ancient Taichu realm, so there were very few people who owned it. Even on the entire Taichu continent, there were less than 10 people who owned a snow soul beast. Lu Chu was ecstatic when she heard about the whereabouts of the snow soul beast from Xiaotu, and she immediately vowed to capture a snow soul beast and take it back with her. They really did find the hanging ice lake. Now, all that was left was to see if there were any snow soul beasts in the lake. I'll be back soon, you guys wait outside. A layer of white liquid enshrouded Ling Ying's body before she began to dive into the lake, and Lin squatted down and touched the surface of the suspended ice lake with his hand. The clear blue water was like blades of ice that cut into his skin relentlessly. The frosty aura was extremely destructive, and it soon left countless tiny wounds on his skin. The wounds then solidified, and they were cut open again, solidified, and cut open again. The cycle repeated itself. What an interesting power! And Lin's interest was piqued. Just as he was about to continue, countless bolts of lightning suddenly exploded over the surface of the lake. Boom! A pillar of lightning soared into the sky, immediately following which Ling Ying's body appeared above the lake. Huh! So fast! And Lin faltered upon seeing this. Run! There are too many snow soul beasts in there. Ling Ying yelled as she began to flee toward the exit of the cave. Too many snow soul beasts? And Lin and Lu Chuchu's eyes lit up in unison. Run my A** guess. They were worried that there wouldn't be enough snow soul beasts to go around. So it was a good thing that there were more of them now. Ling Ying hurriedly waved her feelers to hurry the two of them away. The snow soul beasts are very powerful. I only managed to escape after using a life-saving talisman. Her voice had only just fallen when countless splashes erupted over the surface of the lake as a series of figures began to appear. The snow soul beasts had appeared. Chapter 513. The snow soul beasts were extremely adorable, and Lin and Lu Chuchu couldn't help but take a few more glances at them. They were around the size of small watermelons, and their bodies were covered in fluffy white fur, giving them a very warm and fuzzy feeling. It had a pair of big and round black eyes that rippled with light blue ripples. It had a pink nose and white teeth that looked like little canines. It had no feet, but a pair of short and delicate wings. An intoxicated expression appeared on Lu Chuchu's face. Sure enough, the snow soul beast didn't disappoint her at all. She was about to melt from the cuteness of this snow soul beast, and Lin also swallowed involuntarily. He wanted one of these adorable beast pets as well. No, he wanted two of them. He had to give one to Xiaolan. No. He had to take all of them. There were a total of 12 snow soul beasts here. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and run. Ling Ying yelled in a panicked voice at the sight of Lin and Lu Chuchu's dumbfounded expressions. And Lin chuckled coldly. Run. A scorching light appeared in Lu Chuchu's eyes. No way. Ling Ying, ha ha ha. That's right, you want to run? That doesn't exist. A crisp and tender voice rang out, and Lin raised his head to discover that it was the largest of the 12 snow soul beasts that had spoken. You can speak the Tai Chu language? Lu Chuchu was astonished. The snow soul beast revealed its sharp canine teeth with a smug smile. Of course, countless powerful beings have died by my hands. Not a single one of them survived. All of them had their souls searched by me, and their knowledge was as vast as the ocean. And Lin's lips twitched. Why do you have to spout so many idioms in one go? Uft! What an audacious B***starred. Do you think I, Shuezhantian, need you to judge me? The snow soul beast roared with rage. And Lin, Shuezhantian, then waved his wings at the snow soul beasts behind him. Charge, little ones. Let's show these stupid humans how terrifying we are. The 11 snow soul beasts behind him let loose piercing cries as dazzling blue light erupted from their bodies. Extremely fearsome glacial power instantly proliferated for several hundred meters. In that instant, Lin felt that everything around him began to slow down. He was shocked, and he immediately activated the divine flame in his body. However, before he could completely activate the divine flame, a black shadow rushed toward him. This was Shuezhantian, who was the fattest and roundest among them. His body was enshrouded in a blue light, and he crashed toward Lin's chest like a shooting star. And Lin wanted to block it, but he found that his speed had been slowed down by the power of extreme cold, and he was unable to defend himself. Rumble! A huge force came crashing down like an avalanche, and Lin spat out a mouthful of blood, and his body flew backward. Giant and Lin! Tina's expression shifted as she slashed her heart lotus ice sword toward Shuezhantian with a dazzling white light. Insignificant skill. Shuezhantian harumphed coldly as he abruptly flapped his little white wings, and his ball-shaped body evaded Tina's sword projection in an agile manner. Right at this moment, a streak of golden light flashed through the air like a bolt of lightning, choosing the exact same instant that Shuezhantian dodged to launch an attack. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 3 figures tore through the air and positioned themselves in front of Shuezhantian. These were 3 snow soul beasts. All of them spread open their wings at the same time to unleash a blue, crystalline protective spell formation. The arrow projection, imbued with immensely powerful sealing power, crashed into the crystalline spell formation, upon which a peerless golden light erupted, instantly suppressing the power of extreme cold. However, it was also at this moment that 5 figures pounced toward Lu Chu at an extremely fast speed. "Look out!" And Lin spread open his wings of wind as he charged toward Lu Chu, while slashing an inky black sword projection through the air with his evil slaying sword. The 5 snow soul beasts seemed to be very proficient in spell formations, and they instantly transformed into a twisted water barrier that deflected Lin's sword projection. Meteor hammer. The 5 snow soul beasts' bodies bulged before crashing down toward Lin like massive hammers. Not only were their attacks extremely powerful, but they were also extremely fast. And Lin positioned himself in front of Lu Chu and unleashed a defensive sword projection. Boom, boom, boom! The snow soul beast shattered Lin's defenses, and the massive force of their collision sent him flying through the air again as blood gushed from his mouth. Each of these snow soul beasts was comparable to a soul formation stage cultivator, and they could unleash power equivalent to a cultivator at the soul formation pinnacle stage in their spell formation. In this extremely cold environment, Lin and the others' movements were restricted, while the snow soul beast's speed and power were off the charts. As such, Lin and the others were quickly forced into a disadvantageous position. Lu Chu had only retreated a few steps when the other 4 snow soul beasts pounced toward her. Tina was also being suppressed by the 3 snow soul beasts. Lu Chu hadn't added any defense or health points, and she was knocked to the ground by one of the snow soul beasts. Her petite body curled up into a ball, and she felt as if her bones were about to fall apart. One of the snow soul beasts was Shui Zhantian, and it pounced toward Lu Chu as a cold light flashed through its large, round eyes. "Watch me crush you all!" Shui Zhantian's body hurtled toward Lu Chu like a cannonball, and his body tore through the air with the sound of howling wind and rumbling thunder. If this attack were to land, Lu Chu would be severely wounded, even if she didn't die. Sealing technique. Holy white lightning snake! A loud roar sounded. The one who had unleashed this attack was none other than Linging, and over 1,000 bolts of lightning that resembled white snakes suddenly erupted from her tentacles before hurtling toward the 12 snow soul beasts. The white snakes of lightning were extremely fast, and the snow beasts were unable to evade in time as they were all struck by the white snakes of lightning. Ling Ying's attack wasn't very powerful, but it was capable of instantly paralyzing the snow beasts. "Run. I can only unleash this spell technique once, and you won't have another chance if you don't run." Ling Ying yelled at Lin, Lu Chu and Tina. "Run. Why would you run? How could you bear to leave such adorable beast pets behind?" And Lin slowly stood up, and the 4 divine flames formed a suit of armor around his body. The scorching temperatures emanating from his body made the air around him warp, and the earth below also turned a fiery red. He swallowed a scorching sun pill, and his aura instantly soared to the soul formation pinnacle stage. The flames around him became more and more fearsome, and it was as if they were going to incinerate the entire heavens. A delicate yet determined voice also sounded. "That's right. There are still so many adorable snow soul beasts waiting for me to conquer them. How could I bear to run away under these circumstances?" Lu Chu held a golden pill between her slender fingers, and she opened her cherry lips before swallowing it. Boom! The medicinal power of the scorching sun pill exploded forth, and her aura became extremely vast and terrifying. The 4 snow soul beasts before her faltered momentarily in the face of her powerful aura. Ling Ying stared at Lu Chu and Lin with a dumbstruck expression. "It's over. They've both gone insane." Never would she have thought that Lin and Lu Chu would be willing to swallow a 5th grade immortal pill, the scorching sun pill, in a place like this. This pill would undoubtedly make the two of them even more powerful in a short time, and they might even be able to rival the snow soul beasts. However, was it really worth it to give up a trump card in exchange for a chance to conquer the snow soul beasts? Chapter 5:14. No one answered Ling Ying's question, and Lin and Lu Chuchu's goal was very clear. They had to capture the snow soul beasts. The 5 snow soul beasts pounced toward Enlin, only to be forced back by the tornado of divine flames that Enlin had suddenly unleashed. His every movement was imbued with the power of a mighty figure at the soul formation pinnacle stage, and a full-force attack was infinitesimally close to a return to void stage mighty figure. Sea of divine flames! He stepped forward, and his great holy flame, heavenly void flame, demonic star flame, and setting moon flame appeared at once. Boundless flames instantly engulfed the entire cave, melting the ice and snow, transforming the entire cave into a crimson cavern of lava. The 12 snow soul beasts howled with anguish as if they had been struck by the terrifying flames. They quickly gathered together to form a mysterious spell formation, which materialized an icy blue crystal ball in the air, which exuded the power of extreme frost in order to keep the flames at bay. You're only a spent force. Let's see how long you can keep up your arrogance. Shui Zhantian began to ramble again. Humph. Lu Chuchu harumphed coldly as she drew her bow to its fullest extent. The projection of a Kuan Peng appeared behind her, and its boundlessly majestic figure and majestic aura instantly caused the fur on the 12 snow soul beasts to stand on end. A golden arrow began to materialize on the bowstring, which was imbued with a peerlessly sharp aura. Divine technique, peerless formation-piercing arrow. Whoosh! The golden arrow tore through the sea of flames before piercing into the spell formation formed by the 12 snow soul beasts. The arrow collided with the spell formation, and the space around it twisted and warped as devastating shockwaves swept forth, annihilating everything in the surrounding area. Following a burst of sharp screeches, the crystalline ball cracked like an eggshell, and more cracks appeared on its surface before it crumbled to the ground. The 4 divine flames instantly enveloped all of the snow soul beasts, and their anguished cries rang out once again. And Lin's heart softened at the sight of the snow soul beasts pristine for being charred black, and he began to reduce the intensity of his flames. At this moment, Lu Chuchu had already drawn her bow for the second time, and a golden arrow materialized on the surface of the arrow. There were also peculiar veined patterns that shimmered on the surface of the arrow as a powerful sealing power proliferated outward. Divine technique, divine Buddha, evil vanquishing arrow. The golden arrow pierced through the air toward the 12 snow soul beasts. The flying arrows divided into 10, 10 into 100, and 100 into 1,000. Finally, the countless golden arrows formed a huge golden suppressive diagram in the air. The 12 snow beasts felt as if their bodies were being restrained by a strange power. Not only that, but their chi meridians were also being sealed. This is a sealing spell. Shui Zhantian's eyes widened with incredulity. Seeing this, Enlin withdrew his sea of divine flames. If he continued to use the sea of divine flames now, the snow soul beast would be cooked. Within the golden light suppression diagram, golden characters landed on the bodies of the snow beasts. They were like indestructible shackles, completely binding them. That's right, the divine Buddha evil vanquishing arrow is a sealing suppression technique. During this hour, all of you will lose all of your powers, and you won't be able to use your vital energy, Lu Chuchu said with a calm expression. Plop! The snow soul beasts in the air crashed to the ground like dumplings into water before rolling on the ground. Lu Chuchu's expression was no longer as solemn as before as her eyes lit up at the sight of these round, white snow soul beasts. Wow, this one's mine. She pounced toward Shui Zhantian and gave him a tight hug. She rubbed her delicate face against the furry ball, and it felt extremely good. And Lin also pounced toward Shui Zhantian for no other reason than that he was the most adorable among the snow soul beasts. His fur was the most glossy, and his eyes were the largest and roundest. He rubbed his round body with one hand while rubbing his small and intricate wings with the other. Oh, even though they're snow soul beasts, why are they so warm to the touch? They can be used as a pillow. And Lin exclaimed as he rubbed Shui Zhantian's lifeless body. Shut up! This snow soul beast is mine. Lu Chu glared at Lin. What gives you the right to say that it's yours? It doesn't even have your mark on it. And Lin retorted, It's mine anyway. Lu Chu retorted, It's mine. And Lin also wanted it. The two of them then began to tear at each other. Wait, no, they were tearing at Shui Zhantian. Poor Shui Zhantian. He was clearly a round ball, but he was being pulled into an oval shape. All of you, stop before you go too far. I, Shui Zhantian, will never submit to anyone. I won't accept you humans as my master, even if I die. Just give up on this stupid idea. Shui Zhantian's eyes were glowing, and he bared his little canine teeth in a menacing yet adorable grin. A bunch of snow soul beasts ran over to rescue their boss, only to be kicked aside by Lin and Lu Chu like a rubber ball. It was quite clear that all of their attention was focused on Shui Zhantian. Ah, that's true. We can only establish a contract with beast pets if both parties agree to it. Why don't we let Shui Zhantian choose for himself? Lu Chu suggested, and Lin paused momentarily before nodding in agreement to Lu Chu's suggestion. Tina and Ling Ying didn't say anything as they looked on at the two of them. Ling Ying was completely uninterested in the snow soul beasts. She had a different sense of beauty. She preferred creatures with many long and slender tentacles, such as the octopus princess of the West Sea. If it weren't for the fact that snow soul beasts were legendary beast pets with extremely powerful ice-type Daoroots, she wouldn't have ventured into a place like this. I was the one who suggested this, so I'll be the first person to tame it. Lu Chu interjected, and Lin thought about this for a moment before deciding that there was no point in continuing to argue. He was very confident in Shui Zhantian, and he knew that it definitely wouldn't be tamed by someone as arrogant as Lu Chu, so he nodded in agreement. A joyful smile appeared on Lu Chu's face as she stroked Shui Zhantian's soft, pristine fur. Little Tian, Shui Zhantian and Lin shuddered at the same time. Can you be my beast pet? I'll love you dearly, and I'll play with you every day. If you want any clothes, weapons, toys, or pills, I can make them for you. Lu Chu spoke in a mellow voice, and her yellow eyes were filled with gentleness and doting. I, Shui Zhantian, would rather die than submit, so don't waste your time. Shui Zhantian's reply was extremely firm, and Lin was quite pleased to hear this. This was Lin's beast pet. He had a temper. Lu Chu was not disappointed. If you agree to be my beast pet, I can promise to release all of the other snow soul beasts. PFFF. And Lin threw up a mouthful of blood. Really? Shui Zhantian's eyes lit up. They were currently at the mercy of Lu Chu. If Lu Chu could release the rest of the snow soul beasts, then perhaps it could consider becoming Lu Chu's beast pet. Fake, of course it's fake. And Lin snatched Shui Zhantian out of Lu Chu's arms with an enraged expression. You're going too far. Even if this Shui Zhantian is the cutest, you can't just give up on all of the other snow soul beasts. Have you thought about how everyone else would feel? Lu Chu pursed her lips. If these little snow soul beasts don't accept me as their master, then I can't take them back to the Tai Chu continent. I'll just pay you guys some money. Hee hee. Do you believe that I can make all of them accept me as their master? And Lin chuckled coldly. Then do it. Lu Chu refused to give in, and Lin turned to Shui Zhantian and the other 11 snow soul beasts, and a cruel smile appeared on his face.